5 o'clock on the dot. Thursday morning, I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Maybe a very isolated shower, maybe a rumble of thunder this afternoon, but mostly sunny most of the time with a drop in humidity on the way. Just in time for the start of CMA Fest. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. New traffic sensors are being installed in Nashville. They're not like license plate reader cameras. Officials say they don't record faces or anything like that. These devices use lasers that map objects in 3D to record when there are near misses between cars and cars and cars and people, so officials can make changes to increase safety.
This project allows us to get ahead of the data a little bit. Instead of waiting for those crashes to happen, we can identify areas with data where we know crashes are possible due to the number of near misses. So this allows us to fix those issues, before someone's injured or even worse, killed.
That's NDOT Chief Traffic Engineer Derek Haggerty telling News 2 the first light detection and ranging device, or LiDAR, as it is called, is up and running at Clarksville Pike and 26th Avenue North. 7 more sensors will be going up in coming months. Metro Police say the reward has increased for information leading to an arrest or indictment in a Christmas Day road rage murder a few years ago. 37-year-old Christopher Sponhorst was fatally shot while driving on I-24 West between the Shelby Avenue and James Robertson Parkway exits by someone in a black 2016-2017 Kia Optima sedan. The reward for information now up to $23,000. Just call Crime Stoppers. U.S. veterans given a huge hero's welcome in Normandy as part of the D-Day 80th anniversary ceremonies. We get more from the Foreign Desk.
In the Normandy town of Sainte-Mère-Église, a warm reception for returning veterans like Charles Brooking and Mel Jenner.
I can't believe the turnout and generosity of all the people. God bless everyone.
Oh, it's just wonderful. Everything and everybody is just marvelous. Thank you.
Tom Rivers, ABC News at the Foreign Desk.
President Biden joining other world leaders in France for the 80th anniversary of D-Day. The White House says it's a chance for Biden to engage with a number of U.S. allies attending the anniversary event, including Ukrainian President Zelensky. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Let's check the futures ahead of this morning's opening bell on Wall Street. Dow futures down 22. S&P is flat. NASDAQ is up 2. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
5:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and welcome on into your Thursday, June 6th, the D-Day, of course, 2024. And there's a lot going on. President Biden is going to deliver a D-Day address from the beaches of Normandy here in the next couple of hours. We'll cover that for you and a whole lot more straight ahead. It has been a really bad 24 hours for Joe Biden. I mean, anybody who pays even a modicum of attention to the news knows that it has been a very bad 24 hours. Now, you know that last couple of days, a couple of things have happened. Yesterday, we had the Wall Street Journal article about Joe Biden called Behind Closed Doors. That's what the article was called, Behind Closed Doors, on how both Republicans and Democrats are worried about Joe Biden's age. Now, there's no doubt that the president is having issues, not only cognitively, but also the polling, because the American people do see that he is having cognitive issues. And you look at the polling, and the American people are believing their own eyes, as opposed to believing some of the folks from the Biden administration. But as far as this Wall Street Journal article, they say that he just freezes up in meetings. They say that he's not the same person as he was just a couple of years ago. And they spoke to dozens of people. Dozens of people were interviewed. They say 45 or so. And so now the White House has been fighting back, saying, oh, this is nothing but a Republican hit piece. Now, remember, the White House also keeps saying, oh, if you only saw him in meetings, if you only saw him in private, he's so full of vigor and energy. We all have a hard time keeping up with him. Remember when Cringe Jean-Pierre said that? And so you look at all of that. But then you read, again, the article called Behind Closed Doors on how Joe Biden is behind closed doors. Well, according to the Wall Street Journal author of this piece, Siobhan Hughes, what is really going on is not good when you look at how Biden is behaving behind closed doors.
The picture that's being painted here is one of a president who, behind closed doors, is very much the same as what you see in public. Somebody who has good days, good moments, but also bad days and bad moments. And the reason that's significant is the White House position has been that if only you could see the president behind closed doors, if only you could see what we see, he's absolutely sharp as a tack. And so this aims to find out, well, what is the president like behind closed doors? It's what's happening there, different from what the public sees. And the answer is not very much.
Right. I mean, we all know what we see. I mean, we joke about it all the time here on Nashville's Morning News with Joe Biden's muddled mind. You know, when you're a president, you simply are not allowed to have, as this Siobhan Hughes says, you're not allowed to have good days and bad days. You're just not. You know, for a guy like Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, these guys are like sharks. They're dictators, of course. So, yeah, Biden is simply not allowed to have good days and bad days from a cognitive standpoint. And so with the Biden administration out there, basically, once again, and I know this is a pretty common theme for Americans now, as the Biden administration continues to lie about a lot of different things. But one of the biggest lies right now is that Joe Biden, cognitively speaking, is all there. Here's more from Siobhan Hughes.
We focused on 3 meetings in particular all over the course of the past year. And there were things like mumbling, speaking in such a low voice that people could only hear every other word or couldn't understand what he was saying. This over-reliance on note cards, using note cards to make what were very obvious points and using them in ways that affected the spontaneity of the conversation. Having a loose command of the details. Things like in the Ukraine meeting we talked about in January of this year, using note cards to make the point that Ukraine aid needed to be on the table when everybody in that room, by and large, agreed that Ukraine aid needed to pass. That wasn't the question. The question is, how do we do this quickly?
Well, they can't. They can't do it quickly. They cannot fight back with a president who is having so many issues. You know, you've got the Wall Street Journal article, you've got the Time Magazine article as well. And so let's face it, the great lies of the White House, they do continue. You know, they've talked about how the border is closed. They've talked about how the economy is great and the DOJ isn't weaponized. And Biden is all there cognitively. He isn't, and everyone knows that. And so you look at the day-to-day lies of the Biden administration, and that's what's going on. And these journalists, they're seeing through it now. The Time magazine, the person who wrote the Time magazine article, that was also a very damning article where they also said that this, simply put, is not the same guy. Joe Biden is not the same guy. He's clearly, obviously missing a step. And so what we're now seeing is the authors of these two pieces, the one for the Wall Street Journal and the one for Time, making the rounds on, the various talking head shows. And the reason they're doing that is because they're having to defend their pieces because the White House is coming out and, trying to rebuke their pieces and effectively basically calling them a liar and saying that these are nothing but Republican hit pieces. So the author of the piece in Time magazine was on with Jake Tapper. Guy's name is Mimicio Calabrese, and here's what he has to say.
I mean, he appears very much as he appears on TV. He is older than when he started in office. It's visible if you just look side by side on the tape. The transcript is a good place for people to go to assess that. He was. We describe it in the piece as well. There's some sort of color description of how he appeared in there.
Yeah, he didn't appear well. We don't even have to look at the long transcript because we know. And Mimicio describes how the president was during this interview. And it's the same old sleepy Joe, muddle-minded Joe. And so one of the things that he asked the president was, okay, so do you understand that the American people are concerned with your cognitive decline? They feel like you are too old to be the president, and they're worried about the fact that, you can't string two words together. And you know what this author of the Time magazine piece says that Joe says? Biden actually said,
"Watch me."
That is what Joe Biden said. I kid you not. He did it again. I mean, that is a running joke among the American people because he's been asked this question before. Do you understand the concerns of the American people when they worry about the fact that you are clearly cognitively impaired? He said this, a year or two ago when he said,
"Watch me."
And he said the same thing to Time magazine. And you know what?
Watch me.
We have been watching you, and it ain't pretty. We've been watching, we've been listening, and not only are your policies bad, but your cognitive decline is even worse. So in this interview where he said, "Watch me," he actually made mistakes on dates with foreign policy. So Biden was fact-checked even on the article in Time magazine. And by the way, this is the same article where Biden said that world leaders pull him aside and say that you can't let Trump win. Now, I don't know about you, but I simply don't believe that. And a lot of other people don't believe it either. It is 5:15 on Nashville's Morning News. We'll get into that and a whole lot more. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time to check the roads. Thank you very much. 5:15 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As far as your weather for today, sunny and a high of 87 degrees. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So the president, of course, as you know, he is abroad. And he said in this Time magazine article that when he is out on the world stage, the world leaders pull him aside and say, you simply cannot let Donald Trump win. Now, I don't buy that. I know that most of you folks don't buy that either. Now, there's an interview that was being done on Fox Business, and they really do lay it all out there. Does anyone buy that world leaders want another 4 years of Joe Biden?
The Chinese, for example, definitely do not want Donald Trump to be president. He's promised to enact 60% tariffs on goods, on everything we import from China. They don't want him in. Russia, mixed bag. You know, Trump was the first one to export lethal arms to Ukraine as opposed to just sending humanitarian aid. He's promised to end the war, so he's going to push Ukraine presumably toward negotiations. But again, there's sort of that toughness there. Asian leaders, the Japanese, the Singaporeans, the Taiwanese, I think they see Trump as stronger.
Right. I mean, look what Joe Biden's weakness has done. I mean, it was, and I've said this 1,000 times, his weakness with the sanctions against Vladimir Putin and Russia emboldened Vladimir Putin to go into Ukraine. The failed Afghanistan pullout also emboldened Vladimir Putin to go into Ukraine, also emboldened China. It does go on and on. And by the way, that is Fox News analyst Christian Witten. Here's a few more comments.
November 5th, Election Day, will be the most, and by the way, it starts on September 22nd. It starts earlier because of early voting. But November 5th will go down as the most important election in the history of our country. It's going to be the most important day and period in the history of our country.
Yeah, and the reason why Donald Trump is saying that is all of the reasons why I just mentioned regarding Joe Biden and his foreign policy foibles. And so, yes, you do have that situation as well. And when you look at Joe Biden and you look how he deals with Vladimir Putin, how he deals with Xi Jinping, North Korea, Iran, don't get me started on Iran. He's always playing with kid gloves. As far as China goes, let's face it, he allows their fentanyl to come across our border. We already mentioned the failed pullout of Afghanistan. We already talked about Russia and so forth. And so you've got all of these things that are going on. And the American people are watching. And that's why it has been such an incredibly bad couple of days for President Biden. I thought it was interesting, too, because we're talking about, as we were wrapping up the show yesterday, Chris said, yeah, Biden called the lid 15 minutes after he arrived in Paris. 15 minutes after he arrived. And I guess, you know, for me, I'm thinking that clearly is not a good look. Because you've got a president who's already old. He already sounds tired. He's out there meeting with other world leaders. And you know that they're fresh and ready to go. But our president has to call a lid.
That interview combined with this damning journal report, and it's worth looking and reading through that Time interview of the president. He is just out of sorts. He is not focused at all. This is someone who clearly is just not mentally there, not strong. And this is reinforced, of course, by his early nap time today. So, going the idea that we could go another 4 years with this president and that he would be in charge as opposed to this unaccountable and highly ideological White House staff who really is in charge.
Well, that's the thing. We were talking about that yesterday. I forget who we were talking to, but we're talking about who really is in charge of this White House. I think it's Obama. I think it's Obama and a bunch of operatives within the Biden administration. I mean, we've talked about this before, where Obama lives, a few blocks from the White House. And of course, I know that Obama once said, I'm not going to play the audio again, but Obama once said, I would like to be able to run the country, but not have to deal with all the ceremonial stuff. I could just sit in my house and in my sweatpants and I could just run the country. He said that. You remember that he said that. A lot of you folks remember that. So to me, what is obviously having is you have an empty suit and an empty mind in Joe Biden, and Obama is pulling the strings. Obama talks to the people that used to be in his administration. Now they're implanted in Joe Biden's administration. And that's how the whole thing is working out. Obama just lets everybody know what Biden is supposed to be doing. And Biden, he just very obediently follows along because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And when I say that, I don't mean that in an incompetency standpoint, although that also rings true. But Biden literally doesn't know what he's doing half the time. I mean, all you've got to do is look at the press conferences, watch the interviews, listen to the interviews, and it is clear, obviously, that the president, simply put, is not all there. So, yeah, it has been a very bad week for the president so far, and it's only Thursday. The Supertext line is open. Members Nutrition Supertext line is 615-737-9986. Would love to hear from you this morning. If you want to watch us on Supertalk TV, you can certainly do that as well. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, 997WTN.com, Twitter, and Twitch. And so there's all kinds of places you can watch us this morning on Supertalk TV. It is 521 Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Friends, if you are running a fast-growing business here in Nashville, listen up, because NetSuite's Business Grows Here event is coming to Nashville on Tuesday, June 25th. This is an event that you don't want to miss for a lot of different reasons. Now, why Nashville? Because NetSuite knows that Nashville is a hub for entrepreneurs with forward-thinking founders, a top talent pool, and pro-business leadership. Apply to attend the business event of the year, Business Grows Here, taking place at the Conrad Hotel on Tuesday, June 25th. All kinds of incredible speakers like Jamie Siminoff. He is founder of Ring Video Doorbell, and Burke Nihill, CEO of the Tennessee Titans. NetSuite by Oracle. Business Grows Here is free to attend. If you qualify, you can apply right now to find out. Seats are going quickly and are limited. Mark your calendars. It is Tuesday, June 25th. Where can you apply? netsuite.com/Nashville. That is netsuite.com/Nashville. It is 5:22 on Nashville's Morning News on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Ken Weaver, what is coming up with the news at 5:30?
Going to tell you about Nashville installing new technology that captures near misses between cars and cars and cars and people. Former President Trump, another legal victory of sorts. And here, some of the first breaking news reports out of Normandy 80 years ago today. That's coming up at 5:30 on Supertalk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com. 528, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, Ken Weaver, you there?
I'm here, Brother Dan Mandis.
Hey, Malinoff, Jeff Malinoff is here for Johnny B.
Yeah,
make sure my audio's up, Jeff. Hey, Ken.
Yeah?
Guess what we're going to do in the gang of three amigos?
I can't imagine.
Well, here's a hint.
Getting to know you.
I'm going to steal the Murphy bit with Jeff Malinoff. Jeff, has Murphy done this with you yet? Where he did the whole getting to know you bit?
He has not, no.
Okay, well, you know what? We're going to get to know Jeff Malinoff a little bit.
All right.
That's exciting.
I hope so. This is your chance to shine, man. You better not
Getting to know
shank it.
No, it's not because you like my golf game. We're good.
So are you familiar, Jeff, with the term shank? Because that's something that people always say to me, Dan, don't shank it. That's because I shank things all the time. But are you familiar with the way that I use it?
Well, you have said it in the past when we were talking to off air. So it just flub it.
I do. I use that term. I mean, listen, if you want to get to know me, I use the term shank on and off the air. My whole life is like Shankalicious.
Shankalicious.
That's exactly right. So we'll do that with Jeff coming up next. Also, we'll talk a little bit about D-Day and a whole lot more straight ahead. It's Nashville's Morning News on WTN.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories this Thursday morning, and just in time for CMA Fest. We're drying out with lots of sunshine on the way. Also, less humidity. Full forecasted traffic in 5 minutes. Nashville's installing new laser technology capturing near misses between cars and people. It maps objects in 3D. It sends data to NDOT, where officials study what happened to figure out ways to increase safety. Channel 4 talked to people who say close calls happen all the time.
You can get hit just walking. I mean, just walk across the street. They don't even pay attention to the signs. I think they're at least trying to increase the safety, but whether it'll actually work or not remains to be seen.
So the first light detection and ranging device, or LiDAR, is up and running at the intersection of Clarksville Pike and 26th Avenue North. There will be 7 more installed in coming months. Healthcare network Ascension says it is making progress recovering from a cyber attack. News 2 says the company posted to Facebook it should be completely recovered by late next week. For now, it says home delivery and specialty pharmacy sites are up and able to meet prescription needs. Election 2024, Christiane Cordero reports on a legal victory of sorts for former President Trump as another one of his cases gets delayed.
Just days after he appeared to float the idea of putting his political opponents in prison, former President Trump struck a different tone overnight on Fox News, saying if he's reelected, he would not pursue retribution. Meanwhile, a legal victory for Trump yesterday.
We had a big thing happen in Georgia today.
An appeals court has now halted the Georgia election interference case in order to resolve an appeal over an alleged conflict of interest involving DA Fani Willis stemming from her relationship with a special prosecutor.
80 years ago today, most Americans heard breaking news about the D-Day invasion of German-occupied France on the radio. All networks carried the first on-scene report recorded on the USS Ancon. This is by ABC's George Hicks that night.
Looks like we're going to have a night tonight. Get it there, boys. Something burning is falling down through the sky. There we go. They got one.
Looks like we're going to have a night tonight, he said. And that is from the night of June 6, 1944. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
5:35, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Time to partake in the Gang of Three Amigos. I'm Dan. Jeff Malinoff is there in for Johnny B. Ken Weaver is here. Good morning, Weaves.
Good morning, boys. Yes.
All right, so, man, I hate to politicize everything, but CNN, Biden to deliver remarks at Normandy American Cemetery. Of course, 80 years since D-Day. And is it just me? Why am I worried that the president's going to shank this? I'm worried that he's going to shank it. I'm also worried that he's going to make it political.
Well,
because he just can't help himself.
Well, of course. I mean, it's an election year.
You ever talk to veterans? I mean, I've said this before, but it's been a long time. But when you talk to veterans, I mean, not necessarily from, World War II, but I mean, just generally speaking, veterans, I have had some of the most mind-blowing conversations with veterans ever. And those are some of my favorite discussions of all time. And Ken, you were talking about how a lot of these guys, because you see them, a lot of these veterans have now returned to the beaches of Normandy, some of them perhaps, maybe, for the first time. But it is incredible to watch them as they've got their canes, they've got their wheelchairs, they're walking arm in arm with their family members. It is very touching.
If they're not 100 years old or older, they are at least 97 years old.
That's crazy. Yeah. And you know what? You want to talk about great American heroes, man. I mean, those guys, what they faced.
Oh, the greatest generation.
What they faced and what they did and what they accomplished is just incredible.
Well, in those boats.
Yeah.
In those boats, as they were going toward the beach, they could hear the German bullets.
Yeah.
Tack, 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 hitting that door.
Yep.
They knew when that door goes down, they're probably dead.
I can't even imagine.
I was about to say the same thing. Like, my dad is a big History Channel buff, and they obviously had D-Day on the other day, and I just looked at him like, what is going through your mind, knowing that ship's back is going to come down, and you're going to face a barrage of bullets, and there's probably a German with one of those mounted MGs literally waiting for that door to open and blow you away.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't, it's something that, although I've never faced that myself, obviously, but I mean, our veterans and our military heroes, they all have their experiences that they've all dealt with. But, I will always go back to the fact that it just takes a special person to face that kind of danger, face that kind of fear, face it head on. And now many of them, of course, are returning on this 80 years from D-Day, and it is just incredible to watch.
They are disappearing, boys.
They are.
Of the 16.4 million Americans who served in World War II, only 119,550 roughly are still living.
Wow.
This is according to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs.
That's amazing.
And again, a lot of these guys, who are making the trip back to Normandy, like I said, if they're not 100 years old, they're at least 97, 98, 99.
And they still have those memories embedded in their brains. Like, they might forget something that happened the other day, or they might be going through dementia or whatever thing is happening, but they still remember that day like it was yesterday. They still have everything. Like, that stuff doesn't go away.
Veteran Bob Gibson, 100 years old, was barely older than many of those students that he talked to when he landed on Utah Beach. He remembered more than a few their age who didn't live to see June 7th. He says, you don't want other people to go through the same thing, because I've seen a lot of these boys that never even made the beach, believe me. And we were all 18 and 19 years old. Well, I remember what I was doing when I was 18.
Yep.
Thank God, and thank these men and women.
When I was 18.
I'm sorry, man. I get real emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ken, I'm right there with you. And, when you look at how America has changed, and when you look at, I don't want to knock all of today's generation, because we have some great young adults.
We've got heroes.
But I mean, I got to tell you, when you look back at the bravery of our military back then and today, they're cut from a different cloth, man. They are. And my hat's off to
courage.
Whether
just
they
courage.
Yeah, whether they were storming the beaches of Normandy or the deserts of Iraq and Afghanistan and so forth.
Yeah.
These are veterans and military heroes that, unfortunately, oftentimes many people in America just, number one, I believe they do take them for granted. And number two, for some people, they just, they forget about them. And I think that is horrifying. Yeah. And the other day we were talking about how those pro-Palestinian protesters stopped a military parade. And it's like, are you kidding? I lost my ever-loving mind over that. Mm-hmm. And I think that if you just start, and there's a bit yesterday, I think Murphy did it a couple of days ago, where they asked that pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas protester about whether or not she was supportive of, what did she understand about the Palestinians and their support of gay rights, because everybody was gay. And she had no idea.
Well, she thought Israel was an Islamic state.
She thought that's exactly right, Ken. She thought Israel was an Islamic state. It is just, but that's in my opinion, hate to say it, but that's the kind of person that just has no idea.
No clue what they're doing.
The history, the courage of our military, and people of that ilk, they're just fine to go and interrupt a military
and the
or
sacrifices,
Veterans Day parade or whatever.
And the sacrifices that were made so she can be as stupid as she is.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Speaking of which, very quickly, 9487, he's been asking me to mention this for a couple of days now. His name is Joe. He is with the American Legion Post 75 in Portland, Tennessee. They're having a Flag Day event on Friday the 14th at 7:45 there at the post. If anyone wants to retire a flag, if you could mention this, it would be greatly appreciated. He listens religiously. Thank you very much, Joe. And this is for all the veterans out there. So, if you want to retire a flag, American Legion Post 75 in Portland, Tennessee, you can find them on their Facebook page if you want more information on that, because I think that is a great way to not only show appreciation for the veterans, but also show your appreciation for the flag and all that it stands for. Now, a couple of other things. Real quickly, I need some audio if I could. Jeff, we want to do a little thing that Murphy does. Getting to know Jeff Malinoff. Because now we got to do this, right?
We got to get to know Brother Jeff.
Every time we have a new employee now, just hats off to Murphy Show. And we're just going to get to know Jeff Malinoff. Now, Jeff, very quickly, I want to do two things. Number one, you told me off the air that you have a very long history of military family members. So that's number one that we want to get into. Number two is if you have a question for young Jeff Malinoff, feel free to text it in right now. What is your question for Jeff? And I'll read them on the air.
I'm hoping for the best, but I'm not expecting the best.
So, Jeff, very briefly, because as the questions come in, tell us about your family's history with the military.
Yeah, so on my father's side, they actually came in not at the Mayflower, but during that era. So they came in after the Mayflower, I think it was a year or two after. So it was incredibly recent, at that time.
Yeah.
And that's when my family history started in America. I had ancestors fight for the Union during the Civil War. I believe they were in one of the more poor-ish infantries, if you will. They just were with just go out there and see if you survive kind of infantries, and that was rough. And then even funny enough, my mom's side, my great uncle, he was a World War II pilot, and he was Jewish, and he got shot down and captured. And these Nazi soldiers were like, this guy's last name sounds Jewish. Like, what is who is this guy? And he managed to convince them that he was Catholic because he went to a Catholic school growing up. So he did all these verses, like just basically talked his way out of not being executed and managed to be saved later on. And he lived to like 97,
that sounds
98.
like a movie.
Amazing.
I know.
That
It's
incredible.
When I first heard that story, I think it was like elementary school, I was, at that age, I was blown away.
That's amazing, Jeff. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable story. And then just then my grandfather, he did some service as well. He wasn't in any major wars. I think he was just on bases around the country. But yeah, that my great uncle I actually wrote a letter to him when I was in elementary school for a project and heard that story. It was the most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And like my mom's side, they immigrated here in World War I as Jewish immigrants to New York during obviously World War I from Germany. They managed to get out of there. They had uncles and cousins and stuff help them immigrate, but they lost complete contact. And my family has been trying to find out what happened to them for like decades.
Wow.
Even my grandma tried to.
Wow,
and we found nothing basically. So what we think happened is they basically just like obviously during World War II and the Nazi regime, they just changed their identities basically. That's what we're like guessing. Or they obviously were one of the unmarked graves during the Holocaust. So that was one way or the other.
Wow. So Jeff, was it your great grandfather who was the pilot?
It was my great uncle.
Great uncle. So he started quoting Bible scriptures.
That's what we think happened because I know he managed to convince them that he was a Catholic because he went to Catholic school.
That is incredible.
And he just managed, he didn't really, so from the stories I heard of my grandmother and stuff, he didn't go into detail that much, but he managed to say, I managed to convince them that I was Catholic because I went to a Catholic school growing up.
Wow.
So he managed to get out of that. And he basically was just a prisoner of war for like a couple of months. I think it was like 6 months. And then fortunately, allies came in and rescued him.
Wow.
That is amazing.
That's amazing, Jeff.
Yeah,
You've got a family line that's going to be hard to live up to, young man.
I just hear these stories, man. I love hearing my family stories.
You got to be so proud.
Oh, absolutely. Especially like the story of like a fighter pilot, like all that's crazy. Like I believe he had a co-pilot that died on the impact and he survived. If I'm not mistaken, I have to double check. But I know I had Civil War family members, and it was just especially like we've been here since almost the beginning of like the United States. Yeah. So we don't know for sure, but my grandmother was on my dad's side was like we most likely had someone in the Revolutionary War as well, but that's not 100%. But we know 100% we had someone in the Civil War.
Yeah, interesting.
Wow. All right. Well, I would talk about my family's history, but I can't beat that. Right. I should have shut up. Let's see here. So we're getting to know Jeff Malinoff. Let's see here. One guy says, 3183 says, hey, Jeff, give me your best. Hey, hey, hey.
I don't know about that.
Come on, say it and say it in a way that we can capture it.
I don't want a hockey. I got to plead the fifth on that one.
4121, stealing Murphy's bit now, Mandis? Yes, it's a great bit. I said, you know what? Can I ask, is it stealing if you acknowledge that you're stealing it?
And you're also his boss, so
we'll see how long that lasts. So let's see here.
Well, next time you go to Dollar General and pick up a pack of gum, ask him, Dan.
That's
I don't know if Jeff knows that story.
No, we'll leave that for another
Dan's
day.
been known to pocket packs of gum and walk out, Brother Jeff.
That's where my last stack happened?
That's exactly right. You know what? When you're missing gum, just come find me. All right, so then I will go ahead and ask some personal questions of Jeff Malinoff.
All right, well, go ahead, Brother Dan.
Let's go.
Because this is what Matt did with Mac Morey, who's leaving. I think today's Mac's last. Is it today?
Friday. Tomorrow is.
Tomorrow's Mac's last day.
Yeah.
What is your favorite way to unwind after a hectic day?
2 ways: golf or nap.
Okay.
Yeah. I do play video games myself, but golf has been my go-to for recently.
Yes, sir. I do
miniature or major?
Major. Like I'm getting my handicap.
Is your handicap actually a handicap?
It's about 20. It's not very good. It's I shot a 90 in my last round. So
Ken, do you know what that means?
No idea.
Very good.
Basically bogey average. I had a basic
also
bogey
don't know
every
what that
hole.
means.
Okay.
So
hopefully the listeners know what I mean.
All right, so does that mean you actually shot like a 110?
No. I actually kept score because when you have to do a handicap because I want to play in tournaments and stuff. You actually have to keep it. You have to be very truthful.
So you did shoot a 90.
I did shoot a 90. Yes.
Oh, wow.
I eagled actually on one hole.
What's an
managed
eagle?
So a par 5, if you make it in 3 strokes or less, or just 3 strokes, you get an eagle. So I managed to get an eagle on a par 5. It was the happiest moment of my life.
I don't even think I've done that at a miniature golf course.
No. What drives you to get up every morning, Jeff?
Work. I love keeping busy.
Yes, sir.
And so obviously the goal of mine is being radio and all that stuff, and it's been awesome. And, just always wanted to work hard and make my family proud, make my dad proud. He's my biggest role model. Like he started a business, and it was basically he got control of a business I was going under, a car dealership in my hometown. And then 30 years later, it was the top car business in the county.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
he won multiple
brother.
awards. So yeah, I always follow his guidance and everything. Always follow his what he thinks is best. So
do you think that after hearing this bit, your dad will tell you to quit?
No, he actually listened the other day and was like, "You did great, you did awesome." Like, and he's one of those realist guys. He'll tell you what he feels. So him saying that
did I ever tell you my dad's advice for me when first time my dad heard me on the radio? This is your getting to know Dan Mandis. My dad told me you probably should find another line of work. I swear he did. That's what he said. I was a traffic reporter, and he's like, "Son, are you sure about this?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm sure about this, Dad." And then he heard me as a disc jockey, and he said, "Are you really sure about this, son?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm sure." And
what kind of cars did your dad sell, Brother Jim?
Honda.
Honda, okay.
Yeah, he was a Honda dealer. He started in, I believe it was Chrysler. His dad was his dad was a GMC dealer, and when he died, he got like half that business with his brother.
Yeah.
And his brother basically bought him out, and then the Honda dealership was like, "Hey, we need someone to buy this dealership. It's going on." He got it for like a pittance because they were going to go under, and so he got it. And he drove it to the number 1 selling dealership in the county.
So did you have to sell cars for a while?
I did. I sold cars during summers when I was in high school and college.
Way to go, man. That's making some money.
Is that locally around here?
No. This is Northern California where I grew up.
Okay. Oh, you're one of those California communists?
Okay. I have to defend myself here.
You sure?
Yes. No. I got to defend myself here because we moved when my dad retired. But every time I was like, we moved here for a reason. Why would I vote what we left? Like, I like it here. When you say
here. Northern California, because, I'm from Southern California.
Sacramento area.
Okay. Do you know what I used to call Sacramento?
What?
Sacramento.
That sounds about right.
Right? Okay.
But no, yeah, but again, like I don't consider myself from California anymore. To be honest with you, I haven't visited since I moved. Like I would only visit if I want to see someone I'm like one of my best friends again.
Yep.
But I have I love it here. Like I want to be considered from Tennessee rather than California because
there you go.
So I'll vote to keep it Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
That's all I'll say.
Yes,
listen, Jeff, there's one thing, though, Ken. I think we all like and appreciate Jeff's history with the military and his family. We love that he wants to be, a Tennessean at heart.
And that work is his motivation to wake up.
Work is his motivation, and his golf game sucks. But one thing...
Getting better.
One thing that he has to understand about life here at Super Talk 99.7, if he is going to survive, he's got to keep me on time. Jeff, what time is it?
It's 5:55, sir.
This is on you. This is on you. This is not on me. It's on you.
Johnny B is blowing up my phone now.
Is Johnny B telling you to
No.
tell Mandis to shut up and get to start doing what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
Johnny B saying, "Good luck, Jeff."
Yeah. He's
Good
like,
luck,
run.
Jeff. All right, it's 5:55. Thank you, Jeff.
It's good. It's good to get to know Brother Jeff.
It is good to get to
You've been
know
doing a
Brother
good
Jeff.
job too, dude.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Always happy. I'm happy to be here. I like the environment for sure. The culture is great here.
Give it time. It's 5:56. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Totally kidding. Big news from my friends at Window Nation in the middle of their semi-annual sale going on through this month for limited time only. That means that you can get a great deal on windows. Get 50% off all windows plus 0% interest for 5 years and a bonus savings offer when you schedule your appointment today. Put an end to your window problems and get them installed before the summer heat. Schedule a fast, no obligation, in-home consultation now with the pros at Window Nation. It is really easy. 866-90Nation is the phone number. Don't forget that great deal. Get 50% off all windows plus 0% interest for 5 years and a bonus savings offer when you schedule your appointment today. 866-90Nation. Again, call them for your fast, free, no obligation in-home consultation. 866-90Nation, windownation.com.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Maybe a very isolated shower or rumble of thunder this afternoon, but it's going to be mostly sunny for most of us with a drop in humidity on the way. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. New traffic sensors are being installed in Nashville, not like license plate reader cameras. Officials say they don't record license plates or your face. These devices use lasers that map objects in 3D to record when there are near misses between cars and then cars and people, so officials can make changes to increase safety.
This project allows us to get ahead of the data a little bit. Instead of waiting for those crashes to happen, we can identify areas with data where we know crashes are possible due to the number of near misses. So this allows us to fix those issues, before someone's injured or even worse, killed.
NDOT Chief Traffic Engineer Derek Haggerty telling News 2 the first light detection and ranging device, or LiDAR, is up and running at Clarksville Pike and 26th Avenue, with 7 more sensors to be installed in coming months. Metro Police say the reward is increased for information leading to an arrest or indictment in a Christmas Day road rage murder in 2022. 37-year-old Christopher Sponhorst was fatally shot while driving on I-24 west between the Shelby Avenue and James Robertson Parkway exits by someone in a black 2016-2017 Kia Optima sedan. The reward for information has grown to $23,000. Police say call Crime Stoppers. U.S. veterans given a huge hero's welcome in Normandy as part of the D-Day 80th anniversary ceremonies. We get more from the Foreign Desk.
In the Normandy town of Sainte-Mère-Église, a warm reception for returning veterans like Charles Brooking and Mel Jenner.
I can't believe the turnout and generosity of all the people. God bless everyone.
Oh, it's just wonderful. Everything and everybody is just marvelous. Thank you.
Tom Rivers, ABC News at the Foreign Desk.
Market numbers report. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Dow futures down 21. S&P is flat. NASDAQ up 14. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
.607 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Still waiting, I guess, for Joe Biden to make the big speech marking the 80th anniversary of D-Day. I wanted to, I got some other stuff I clearly, obviously want to do, news of the day and this kind of a thing, but I need some audio, Jeff. I wanted to play a little Ronald Reagan for you because as we were talking about during the gang of three amigos and professing our absolute respect for the veterans and what this day means at D-Day, 80 years ago is when D-Day was. It's the 80th anniversary. And so 40 years ago, Ronald Reagan gave what I would say is an incredible speech marking the day. And I'm just going to play a little bit of Ronald Reagan as we wait for President Joe Biden.
We stand today at a place of battle, one that 40 years ago saw and felt the worst of war. Men bled and died here for a few feet of or inches of sand as bullets and shell fire cut through their ranks. About them, General Omar Bradley later said, "Every man who set foot on Omaha Beach that day was a hero." No speech can adequately portray their suffering, their sacrifice, their heroism. President Lincoln once reminded us that through their deeds, the dead of battle have spoken more eloquently for themselves than any of the living ever could. That we can only honor them by rededicating ourselves to the cause for which they gave a last full measure of devotion.
And that is Ronald Reagan 40 years ago as he was giving his speech marking the 40th anniversary of Normandy here on the 80th anniversary of D-Day. So again, President Biden is getting ready to speak. We'll see if he is just as eloquent as former President Ronald Reagan. It is 6:09 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I do find it interesting. We were talking about when I was recounting and remembering some of my favorite conversations that I've ever had, because we've always, in our lives, we have people that we remember. We have conversations that we remember and that we treasure. And I've told this story before about how when I was a younger adult, far younger, mid to late 20s, early 30s, and my neighbor Ed, who was a veteran. And man, Ed and I don't know, man, I was like late 20s, early 30s. And he had to be in his 60s, mid 60s, maybe early 70s. And he was a veteran. And he and I would he's watering his lawn and I'm watering mine. And we would talk for hours about life and about the military and about some of the things that he went through when he was, serving in the military. And he talked about losing friends. He talked about remembering those, very rough, horrible times, but also the good times when the veterans, his old friends from the military would all reconnect. And the perspective that he had was one that was so appreciative of what America is today. And I think that oftentimes when we talk about what is going on with America today, we talk about how woke the military is, as we were discussing during the Gang of Three Amigos about the military and the military heroes. A whole bunch of you folks said, yeah, the wokeness of the military today, hearing from a lot of veterans, people are really frustrated with it. It is, Pride Month for the military. And it started on June 3rd, right? Just a couple of days before D-Day. And so there's a lot of people that are angry and frustrated about the fact that it seems like there is a concerted effort on the part of the military to overshadow D-Day with Pride Month. And I think there's a lot of people, understandably so, that are frustrated by that. And so when we talk about the wokeness, and I will say the stupidity of having, Pride Month in the military as the military goes woke the same month as D-Day, I will also tell you that is not the rank and file military heroes. I mean, that is the military I don't know who that is. That is a political move. That is a political move. That is not something, in my opinion, that whether it is reflective of the people, rank and file in the military or not, maybe there's a lot of veterans that support Pride Month for the military, whatever. But what I will say is people are, sort of gnashing at the teeth about, June is Pride Month for the military. What I will say is I don't let that overshadow what Ronald Reagan was just talking about, the heroes that perished 80 years ago today. I don't let my angst about the woke military these days overshadow what they went through or what they did for our country. And I think that it's really easy to get really frustrated, and I could probably do an hour-long monologue on the wokeness of the military and how some of the higher ups in the military have let us down. I could do an hour-long monologue, and at times I have, where we talked about how the VA has let our veterans down. I mean, I could go on, and some of you folks have probably heard me go on and on about this. But I don't let that overshadow the heroes that are right now revisiting Omaha Beach or, out there getting ready to hear President Biden speak as we right now are looking at an empty podium. But I know the military's woke, and I know that there's a lot of frustration with the military and the politicization of the military. But for me, I don't let the bureaucrats overshadow the heroes. Because really, to me, the military isn't about the bureaucrats. The military is about the heroes. And so for me, on this D-Day, 80 years ago, I will always remember the heroes. And as far as the woke nature of the military today, well, you can thank the bureaucrats for that. I prefer to dismiss the bureaucrats, dismiss their stupidity, dismiss their wokeness, and really, truly thank and remember the heroes. It is 6:15 on Super Talk 99.7. Time to check the roads. .6:15, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. As far as your weather today, looks like it's going to be sunny and a high of 87 degrees. And right now, 68, Super Talk 99.7, WTN. Okay, we've got a lot to get through with the news of the day. First of all, this is big news from this morning. Apparently, President Trump is now narrowing his VP search to just 7. Now, I'm curious as to which of these 7 you like. You've got Doug Burgum, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Tim Scott have allegedly been contacted. Byron Donalds, Elise Stefanik, Ben Carson are also have said to be considered. And apparently some of these folks, maybe all of these folks, are being vetted. For me, I like Byron Donalds. I like Tim Scott. I like J.D. Vance. I like Elise Stefanik. I'm not a big fan. I'm a big fan of Ben Carson. I'm not a big fan of Ben Carson for this role. I'm not a fan of Doug Burgum. I like Doug Burgum. My problem with Doug Burgum is he's not as, what's the best way to put this? I don't see him as an outward fighter like I do a Byron Donalds or an Elise Stefanik or a J.D. Vance. So, and Marco Rubio, I'm somewhat ambivalent about these days. So, I mean, anyway, who do you like? Again, you've got Ben Carson, Elise Stefanik, Byron Donalds, Doug Burgum, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, and Tim Scott for President Trump. And that is who the Daily Mail and others are now reporting could very well be his running mate. And I will be willing to bet that the majority of WTN Nation will like J.D. Vance. I think if I did a poll, an on-air poll right now, it would be J.D. Vance. That's the one that most people will like. Speaking of Donald Trump, You know, he's been making the rounds, and he was on with Sean Hannity last night. This is part of what was discussed.
November 5th, Election Day, will be the most, and by the way, it starts on September 22nd. It starts earlier because of early voting. But November 5th will go down as the most important election in the history of our country. It's going to be the most important day and period in the history of our country.
You know, I do like how he puts in there when early voting begins, but I will say here in Tennessee, early voting is October 16th through the 31st. And by the way, if you have not registered yet, if you have not registered to vote, that deadline is October 7th. So make sure that you get yourself registered. And I will also advocate for you to vote early. Again, early voting begins on October 16th and it goes through the 31st. One of the things that was brought up in this conversation between Donald Trump and Sean Hannity was the Democrats. And now that the Democrats have used lawfare to go after Donald Trump, many said the Republicans have to fight fire with fire. I, by the way, was one of them. Trump said this related to that lawfare. And of course, people say warfare. That's what the president is about to say, I believe. The Democrats are trying to arrest him as opposed to beat him on the issues. And this is part of what Donald Trump said.
I think the most important election in the history of our country. This will go down, I believe, as the most important election in the history of our country. We can't have this stuff go on. Because you know what? When Biden goes out, everyone says bye-bye, and then he gets indicted 2 days later and they go after him. The country doesn't want that. And you know what? They didn't want it with Hillary Clinton either.
You know, I do like how Trump is saying, you know what, the country doesn't want to see Joe Biden arrested. Now, I might disagree with the president on that, but whatever. But you know what he's saying? He's saying that the country does need to unify, and President Trump has been using incredibly unifying language. And I think that we all know that Joe Biden is far from a unifier. I mean, he has literally waged war on roughly half of America, those that support Donald Trump. So there's that aspect to it as well. Remember that he brought up Hillary Clinton in that soundbite. He decided ultimately, you know, not to pursue charges and what have you. So now they turned around, the Democrats turned around and did it at him or on him. Now, everyone worries about the economy, of course. We all worry about the economy. As far as unity goes and unifying the country, former President Donald Trump does say, and he's continuing to say this, is that the best revenge against those going after him will be the success of the country, turning around the economy. I would say is the biggest issue right now. Obviously, versus the price of stuff, you've got the price of things, you've got the economy that is a train wreck, and so everything is still too expensive. And that does impact everyone.
African American, Asian American, Hispanic American, women, men, people with diplomas, people without diplomas, people that went to MIT, Harvard, and Wharton, people that didn't get out of high school. Every single group. Nobody has ever done better than during that period of time. In my administration, during that period, success will unify. And I think we're going to have a tremendous success.
You want some quick stats on Americans' financial situation? 58% living paycheck to paycheck. The average inflation rate under Donald Trump, you know this, 1.9%. Biden is at 5.7%, of course, due to Biden's spending and artificially infusing all of that money into the economy. And the average interest rate to buy a home under Joe Biden is over 7%. Under Trump, you know, it was around 3%.
According to Redfin, more than 9 in 10 Gen Zers say that housing affordability will influence who they will vote for in November.
Yep, that is bad news for Joe Biden. That is good news for Donald Trump. And yeah, Gen Z, of course, those folks between the ages of 12 and up to about 26 or so. And you know what? This is why this is bad news for Joe Biden, because that is 20% of the population.
It's such an important issue to this generation that it outweighs abortion rights and student debt in terms of importance. For younger voters, the skyrocketing cost of housing is putting the American dream further out of reach. The cost of a new home has spiked more than 30% since the start of the pandemic. And higher interest rates make mortgages more expensive. A 30-year mortgage is now above 7% when it was under 3.5% just 4 years ago.
Yeah. By the way, one more thing about Biden and the mortgages that are out there that are really high because of the interest rates and so forth. One more thing about that. Don't forget that Biden's mortgage rule that was passed last year, remember this? I lost my ever-loving mind on this. Penalized folks with higher credit scores. Remember this time last year, actually, if you had a higher credit card score and you had 15 to 20% down for a home, you got charged, and you are getting charged a 1% surcharge to subsidize Americans with lower test scores and not enough money for a down payment. Now, I said at the time, I'll say it again, I suppose that is good for some folks, but to me, this is akin to not only, yes, government overreach, but also that's simply not fair to people who take care of their credit score and save money for a home. So that is just part of the dynamic going on right now in the economy. It is 6:23 on Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Dan Mandis here. You know, I had such a good time at the Glock store last Saturday. Had all kinds of people coming up to me saying how much they absolutely love the Glock store, and so do I. Now, I'm going to tell you why I like the Glock store. This is where I chose to buy my first gun, and this is where I chose to do all of my training. And the other day, we had folks coming up to me saying, this is where I do my training. This is where I bought my gun, and we could not be happier. And yes, that makes me happy. So if you're looking for more training, if you're looking for a new gun, if you're looking for accessories for your firearm, look no further than the Glock store in Nashville. I love this place. You can find them online at glockstore.com, 1930 Airline Drive. That is minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. It is 6:24 on Super Talk 99.7. Ken Weaver, what's coming up in the news?
Nashville's installing new technology that captures near misses between cars and people. Former President Trump gets another legal victory of sorts. Here's some of the first breaking news reports out of Normandy 80 years ago today at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
629, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. So, Ken, we're talking about the 7 people that are apparently now, they're whittling down all of these folks. They're now apparently down to 7 as far as the possible running mates for Donald Trump. And so far, I polled WTN Nation.
Yeah.
And by far, J.D. Vance and Byron Donalds are the big 2.
Okay.
That's what everybody's saying. So, I mean, who knows? But apparently all those folks that I mentioned, Elise Stefanik, Ben Carson, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Doug Burgum, Byron Donalds, they are being vetted as we speak, it would appear. So that is part of the news cycle this morning. It is 6:29 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Dan Mandis here. You know, I never really considered myself a prepper, but I do consider myself a guy who cares deeply about his country and his family. And that is why I order emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Now, every day we see the stories about America under attack. You've got China, Russia, North Korea. They are threatening our infrastructure. America is vulnerable, but that doesn't mean that you have to be. You can order emergency food from My Patriot Supply at preparewithmandis.com, and you're ready for anything. Again, preparewithmandis.com, where you have a great deal waiting for you. Their 3-month emergency food kits are $200 off each. Now, that does mean that you can stock up and save big time at preparewithmandis.com. Remember that great deal. 3-month emergency food kits, $200 off. You can stock up, save big time. Preparewithmandis.com. That's preparewithmandis.com.
6:30 on the dot this Thursday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And just in time for CMA Fest, we're drying out. Lots of sunshine on the way, less humidity, full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Nashville's installing new laser technology that captures near misses between cars and then cars and people to figure out ways to increase safety. Channel 4 talked to people who say close calls happen all the time where they live.
You can get hit just walking. I mean, just walk across the street, they don't even pay attention to the signs. I think they're at least trying to increase the safety, but whether it'll actually work or not remains to be seen.
So the first light detection and ranging device, otherwise known as LiDAR, is up and running at the intersection of Clarksville Pike and 26th Avenue North. There'll be 7 more installed in coming months. Healthcare network Ascension says it's making progress recovering from a cyber attack. News 2 says the company's posted to social media it should be completely recovered by late next week. And election 2024, Christiane Cordero reports on a legal victory of sorts for former President Trump.
Just days after he appeared to float the idea of putting his political opponents in prison, former President Trump struck a different tone overnight on Fox News, saying if he's reelected, he would not pursue retribution. Meanwhile, a legal victory for Trump yesterday.
We had a big thing happen in Georgia today.
An appeals court has now halted the Georgia election interference case in order to resolve an appeal over an alleged conflict of interest involving DA Fani Willis, stemming from her relationship with a special prosecutor.
80 years ago today.
We interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast. The German news agency Transocean said today in a broadcast that the Allied invasion had begun.
That was the first bulletin read by an NBC radio announcer when the Allied invasion of German-occupied France began. Then all networks carried the first on-scene report, recorded on the USS Ancon by ABC's George Hicks.
Looks like we're going to have a night tonight. Get it there, boys! Something burning is falling down through the sky. Here we go. They got one.
Started out by saying, looks like we're going to have a night tonight. Many surviving heroes of that day are in Normandy right now for the 80th anniversary D-Day ceremonies of the 16.4 million Americans who served in World War II. Only about 119,550 are still alive, according to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 6:36 on WTN. Well, springtime heading into summertime. If you need something to get ready for the hot weather, check out my friends at DT McCall's for whatever you need. Listen, you need lawn mowers, patio furniture, maybe some indoor furniture. Stop on by one of DT McCall's 5 locations, or you can find them online. What about kitchen appliances? I've been telling you for a while now that DT McCall's is where I actually bought my oven. Old oven went out, checked out dtmccalls.com, and found the one that I wanted at the right price and the right color, and it was in my house and plugged in and ready to go within a few days. That's what I love about DT McCall's. They deliver for free, and they haul away the old stuff. They also have great value and customer service. Now, they've been in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years, and they've lasted so long because of that customer service and great quality of products. So many ways to save. All you need to do is go to one place, my place, DT McCall's. 5 locations, Carthage, Franklin, Cookeville, Lafayette, Lebanon. Always online, dtmccalls.com. .638, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you. You want to watch us on TV or whatever it is, your computer, your phone, you can. WTN TV is on Facebook. It's on YouTube. It's on our website, 997WTN.com, Twitter and Twitch as well. So check it out if you would like to. And also, you can stream us just about anywhere. And the Members Nutrition Super Text line, that is open, very active this morning. Thank you. It helps the host's ego when I get a lot of feedback. 615-737-9986. There's a lot going on. President Biden is going to be speaking in France here in the next, few minutes. I don't think Ken, has he actually spoken yet, President Biden?
Nope, not yet. Not yet, just Emmanuel Macron.
All right, very good. So we're all eagerly awaiting President Biden's speech. And we'll look forward to that, and we'll bring you highlights when that does happen. There's a lot going on. As far as the president goes, I was playing you earlier some audio from the former president. That is, of course, Donald Trump. And there is a lot going on. Trump is really making the rounds. Do you know who Trump is going to be on with today? Dr. Phil. So I guess Dr. Phil tweeted yesterday that he just finished up his conversation with former President Trump, and he said it is going to be must-see television. Meantime, you do have President Biden, and he is just one poll after another. It's almost like the president, at this point, I think you could call him beleaguered. Joe Scarborough, because, his lack of real faculties and his declining cognition is in the news today, very much in the news today, along with a whole lot of other things. Joe Scarborough, from MSNBC at Morning Joe. This is from the Daily Wire. Morning Joe host has been dragged for a claim that Biden is sharper than Kevin McCarthy.
I saw this tweet and I had my jaw drop.
It is just stunning, isn't it, that he would say such a thing? And here's the thing, is that Joe Scarborough, I think this says more about Joe Scarborough than it does about Joe Biden, because Scarborough expects the American people and the people that follow him on Twitter to believe this. And it is, gaslighting the American people. Scarborough says, and this is from the Daily Wire, MSNBC host Joe Scarborough facing a virtual onslaught after he claimed in a Wednesday morning post that President Joe Biden was sharper than Kevin McCarthy. Even if you're no fan of Kevin McCarthy, there's no doubt which of these two guys is sharper. Scarborough began with that comparison between Biden and McCarthy and then doubled down, saying that Biden was in better shape than any Republican House Speaker with whom he had spoken in the last 3 decades. And on it goes. I'm not going to bore you with more of the deranged musings of one Joe Scarborough. But I do find it interesting because that is what's going on now. Yesterday, there was an interview, I think it was on CNN. Biden's spokeswoman was on, and her name is Adrienne Elrod. And she says, yeah, the president needs some audio, Jeff. The president, he hasn't slipped one bit.
I can tell you that he is sharper than ever.
So apparently now that is going to be the quote from the Biden campaign.
I can tell you that he is sharper than ever.
Now realize when old Adrian there says that Biden is sharper than ever. So what she's saying is even when Joe Biden was vice president, he is the same level of sharpness now than he was when he was vice president. Well, speaking of gaslighting the American people, obviously that is a joke. But let's go back to 2012 when you had Paul Ryan and Joe Biden debating. This is Joe Biden back in 2012.
If it's any senior out there, ask yourself, do you have more benefits today? You do. If you're near the donut hole, you have $800, $600 more to help your prescription drug costs. You get wellness visits without copays. They wipe all of this out, and Medicare becomes insolvent in 2016.
I mean, listen, forget about the lies, but at the very least, he sounds sharp, he sounds confident, and he sounds focused. I mean, honestly, when I heard that soundbite, it was like, oh, yeah. That's the Joe Biden I remember. This is the Joe Biden I know now.
That's my special envoy to monitor cabinet anti-Semitism, Deborah, you all. My administration is announcing the first tranche of dislocated worker grants, fancy phrase, which is dimes, all it is there to make sure it helps create jobs.
Right.
4 more years. Pause.
That last one is my all-time favorite when he says, pause.
4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. 4 more years.
That is so funny. Man.
Pause.
Pause. And then all the guys in the room start chanting 4 more years because he was supposed to pause so that they could start chanting 4 more years.
I feel so bad. It's sad. Like, this is, I always look at this as like elder abuse because someone's pushing him to do this. Someone is pushing him up there to do this.
Well, it's his wife. Because let's face it, Dr. Jill, his wife Jill, she should be pulling him out of the Oval Office. She clearly, in my opinion, does not care about her husband. And the Democrats, they don't want to admit that they were wrong. They want to keep Joe Biden in power. And there are some people, they want to stay in power. And there's some people that say, and I don't know if I believe this, but there's some people that say that Joe Biden is the only Democrat that could beat Donald Trump, which I don't see how that's even possible given the fact that he's, having such cognitive issues. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. If the Democrats ultimately decide to pull Joe Biden from the ticket, that is going to be something to watch. It is 6:45 on WTN. Time to check the roads on Super Talk 99.7. Thank you very much. 646 as far as your weather today goes. It's going to be sunny and a high of 87, 71 now at Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I can tell you that he is sharper than ever.
All right, so clearly the White House is playing defense because of the article. I was telling you about this earlier, the articles in Time Magazine and also the Wall Street Journal. Coming up in the next hour, I'm going to play you some audio from the authors, some of these writers that have seemingly the inside scoop on Joe Biden and his cognitive decline, because the White House basically has come out now and they have said that the writers from Time and the Wall Street Journal, they are just liar, pants on fire. Don't believe them. That's what the White House is trying to tell folks, because, they're trying to say that Joe Biden is,
How much should a cognitive
sharper than ever. Oh my goodness,
factor into that decision when someone votes?
Hold on. It's my bad. Joe Biden is?
I can tell you that he is sharper than ever.
All right. Now, here's where I wanted to go with this. There was an interview with this woman that works for the White House, and she is a White House spokesperson, saying that he is sharper than ever. I've told you about the polling where Biden is simply not doing well in the polling as it relates to this issue. Now, this is a great moment, because it was an awkward moment, because you have the Biden administration simply saying that, no, there's absolutely no problem with Joe Biden whatsoever. I want you to listen to this.
How much should a candidate's cognitive function factor into that decision when someone votes?
I don't even know what that question means. I mean,
when they vote, should they be thinking about which candidate, how they're functioning cognitively?
Sure, absolutely. They should.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Adrienne Elrod, Senior Biden Campaign Spokesperson, thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
All right, as we head to break, Hunter...
Now, the funny thing about that is the reporter in question, the anchor, it just got done talking about how poorly the president is doing in the polling related to his cognitive function. And then he asks the question, should the American people take into account their opinion on a presidential candidate's cognitive abilities? And when she says, I don't even know what that means, I'm going to say back to her, what do you mean you don't know what that means? Of course you know what that means. What that means is the American people have big time concerns about their president, Joe Biden, the guy that is supposed to be helping our economy and protecting America and representing America on the world stage. And he's simply not doing that, and not doing that well, whether we are talking about the border, whether we are talking about the economy and inflation, or representing America on the world stage. And so the more that these stories come out about the president, the worse it looks, because then the White House is going to have to be on a defense, because these stories, simply put, keep coming out. And the more that they keep coming out, the White House then has to continue to lie and gaslight the American people, lie to and gaslight the American people. And that just ticks everybody off. And that clip of Joe Biden, I remember, Ken, do you remember the debate between Paul Ryan and Joe Biden way back when, where Biden was he was laughing at Paul Ryan. He was sort of mocking Paul Ryan in that, vice presidential debate.
Yeah.
Joe Biden acted like such a darn buffoon. I don't know if you remember that. I remember that like it was yesterday, because I was so put off, because I was, of course, rooting for Paul Ryan, being the conservative that I am. And I mean, Biden he again acted like a buffoon, and even offered Paul Ryan, because Ryan kept drinking water and he was nervous, And so Biden says, well, would you like some of my water? And Biden was just really showed that he is not a class act back in 2012. But you can tell the difference between Biden then and Biden now. And I will say, by the way, that I understand that old people get old. I mean, I will fault Joe Biden for a lot of things. I will fault him for, the way that he raised Hunter. I will fault him for constantly lying to the American people. I'll fault him for plagiarizing. I will fault him for faulty policies. I can't fault the man for getting old. I mean, people do get old. It's going to happen to everyone. It's going to happen to me. It's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to everyone. But he put himself in this situation. And the people around him are keeping him in this situation. And that is putting America clearly at risk. It is 6:51 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want to tell you about my buddy Paul Winkler. Listen, who do you trust when it comes to your money? Now, I turned to Paul Winkler years ago, and I still use him today. Now, a lot of these other financial folks, they all say different things, but they all have one thing in common. They all have something to sell. So then you've got to ask yourself the question, all right, so are they looking out for my best interest? Well, I would say no. They're pitching their own products for their own benefit. Now, Paul likes to put it this way. If you worked for a car company, wouldn't you say that your car is the best? It is the same thing with banks and insurance agents who sell investment products. Paul Winkler is looking out for your best interest, and he's not going to try and sell you something. He's actually going to teach you how to relax about money. Now, you do need to know that I get paid every time I do these commercials, but I wouldn't be doing them if I didn't believe in Paul and his guidance. And you will too when you call him for a free consultation. 615-851-1950. 615-851-1950. Paul's got 10 offices conveniently located across Middle Tennessee. One great website, it's paulwinkler.com. 6:53, time to check the not the headlines, but we're going to tease the newscast coming up. Hello, Ken.
Yeah, new traffic sensing technology installed in Nashville. We'll tell you what it does and why. Reward increased for information on a Christmas Day road rage murder in Nashville. And that summer cookout going to set you back more than it did last year at 7 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Troops were pinned down.
Seven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories on this Thursday morning. We might see a very isolated shower or rumble of thunder this afternoon, but it's going to be mostly sunny most of the places and a drop in humidity on the way. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Right now in Normandy, France. The French national anthem celebrating this year's D-Day, marking 80 years since Allied forces landed on Normandy beach, changing the course of World War II, eventually leading to the fall of Hitler's regime. Meanwhile, here in Nashville, new traffic sensors being installed that uses lasers that map objects in 3D to record when there are near misses between cars and people. So officials say they can make changes to increase safety.
This project allows us to get ahead of the data a little bit. Instead of waiting for those crashes to happen, we can identify areas with data where we know crashes are possible due to the number of near misses. So this allows us to fix those issues, before someone's injured or even worse, killed.
That's NDOT Chief Traffic Engineer Derek Haggerty telling News 2 the first light detection and ranging device, or LiDAR, is up and running at Clarksville Pike and 26th Avenue. 7 more sensors to go up in coming months. Metro Police say the reward is increased for information leading to an arrest or indictment in a Christmas Day road rage murder a few years ago. 37-year-old Christopher Sponhorst was fatally shot while driving on I-24 West between the Shelby Avenue and James Robertson Parkway exits by someone in a black 2016 or 2017 Kia Optima sedan. The reward for information is now up to $23,000. Detectives ask you call Crime Stoppers. Money news, a summer cookout's going to set you back more this year than last. A pound of ground beef that cost $4.89 last year is $5.24 today, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. To find the reason, says Jim Ryan, you have to look way up the supply chain.
In any industry, the lower the inventory, the higher the cost.
In Texas, the cattle numbers are the lowest they've been since 1961.
Says cattle industry specialist Matt Garner.
In the U.S., they're the lowest they've been since 1951.
Those numbers don't even take into account the thousands of head of cattle lost to the Panhandle wildfires in February. Despite recent rains, parts of Texas remain abnormally dry or in a long-term drought.
Market numbers report. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. Dow futures are down 26. S&P up 2. NASDAQ up 18. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
7:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in to your Thursday, June 6th, 2024. And it's D-Day, of course, 80 years. The president is speaking. We chose not to carry it live, to be perfectly honest. One of the things that I, though, want to do is remind you what a great leader is able to do, which is inspire. Now, I'm sitting here, and during the break, I was listening to Biden speak at this ceremony in Normandy, France, and I'm just going to tell you, he's Joe Biden. There's no other way to say it. He's no Ronald Reagan.
What impelled you to put aside the instinct for self-preservation and risk your lives to take these cliffs? What inspired all the men of the armies that met here? We look at you and somehow we know the answer. It was faith and belief. It was loyalty and love. The men of Normandy had faith that what they were doing was right, faith that they fought for all humanity, faith that a just God would grant them mercy on this beachhead or on the next.
I mean, that last part of that line, because I'm just taking excerpts from Ronald Reagan's speech 40 years ago when he was, I'm not sure if he was in Normandy 40 years ago, but that's where Joe Biden is now. But that last line in that soundbite was just incredible.
Faith that a just God would grant them mercy on this beachhead or on the next.
Just amazing. That is, of course, Ronald Reagan 40 years ago. And it's funny because Jeff and I were talking, Jeff Malinoff is in for Johnny B, and Jeff and I were talking about what we tend to do in our spare time. And when I say that I go back and I listen to speeches of Ronald Reagan, I do. I do some weird stuff in my private time, and that's one of them, is I like to go back and listen to old political speeches that I find inspiring, and most certainly Ronald Reagan is one of them.
By the way, I have the clip we were talking about.
You have the clip.
I have a great clip of Biden.
All right, so Ken probably might want to be in on this, maybe not, I don't know. But apparently Biden had a, go blank yourself San Diego moment, which is where he reads right off the teleprompter. Jeff, go ahead. This is Joe Biden moments ago.
So he just saluted the veterans. Just here we go.
End of quote.
End of quote.
End of quote. When I was listening, he sounded a little tired. Actually, sounded a lot tired when he was giving the speech. And I don't know. Again, he's no Ronald Reagan, but he's 80 whatever. So I don't expect him to be, as eloquent as Ronald Reagan. But one of the things, and the point is that, and we've been talking about this the last couple of days, where Biden is just at an age now where it's very difficult for the American people to really buy that his cognitive abilities are really all there. It is just difficult because he makes it so hard, because he's always tired. His voice is low. It's gravelly. Oftentimes he's got a word salad going on as well. And I do believe that will have an impact coming up in November. There is some local stories that I want to get to. I'm not sure if you've been listening to what's been going on the afternoon show with Brian Wilson, but the investigation with Audrey Hale, that does continue. And it's really interesting. It's really interesting because he has now received some documents. Brian has, and he went on the air with him yesterday. Okay. He's received some documents about. He's received some documents. Jeff, I love you. Turn your mic off. Thank you. I'm sorry, but I heard you typing in the background and you were humming to yourself.
Oh, my bad. I wasn't humming, but thank you for telling me.
Okay, very good. Yeah, it's okay.
I was like, there's nothing on it, but
people on Super Talk TV are like watching me wave my hands, and Jeff is in there.
It's my first week working this show.
It's okay, man.
It's my last week too, probably.
It's okay. No, you'll be back. We'll see. Anyway, so Audrey Hale, the investigation continues. Brian Wilson has now received some documents, And in the last couple of days, this has been sort of unfurling and unfolding, where he's just getting these documents, and the Tennessee Star is also doing some incredible work on the investigation into the Covenant shooting. Now, we all know Audrey Hale, the Covenant shooter. Metro Police continue to say that this investigation is open, which, of course, for a lot of us has been baffling because Audrey Hale is dead. But we found out a lot now over the last several days. Now, first, a bit of a scene setter. In the last couple of days, we've talked about how Audrey Hale was in therapy. She told her therapist that she had thoughts of homicide, of killing her parents, shooting up a school, and apparently committing suicide as well. That's what she apparently told her therapist. Her therapist referred her to Vanderbilt for treatment and involuntary commitment. Neither the therapist nor Vanderbilt, it is alleged, told the authorities about all of this as is required by law. Now, that's a problem. If that is indeed true, it seems to me like if both of those entities, the therapist and Vanderbilt, just didn't do their job and did not alert the authorities that she was not only suicidal, but also was a threat to others as well, well, then there needs to be some accountability for that. Now, remember, Vanderbilt is very protective of the trans community. That goes way back. We've all talked about that. They've been all about serving that community with procedures and therapies and the like for those looking to transition. So now the therapist apparently is under investigation for allegedly not reporting all of this to the police. Remember, she retired before the shooting took place. Not sure what Vandy knew when or if this whole thing happened. Just don't know. Vandy apparently is not answering any questions, but don't know what they reported, don't know if they reported it. That still remains to be seen, but it seems like they did not report it at the time they should have. That is the allegation and the accusation. The question is, could this have been prevented? So now yesterday, Brian released these notes from a document he received from inside the Metro Police Department. And it appears, I would say, that there's some very frustrated people within the department. And what they're doing now is they're lashing out, again, seems to me, by leaking these documents to Brian and our buddy Michael Patrick Leahy over at the Tennessee Star. Now, I'm going to go through what Brian discussed yesterday, coming up after the traffic on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you very much. Sunny today, a high of 87 and right now 72 at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Going through what Brian Wilson went through yesterday, and he has received a document, and this document gives a lot more insight into who Audrey Hale was. And these are leaked documents. These are documents that came from inside, it would appear, Metro Nashville Police. And there's a lot of frustration, I think, within the police department because of the fact that no information is being released. And so they've decided to release these documents themselves, whether it is to Brian or others. Now, this is what Brian went through yesterday. He says that there's no manifesto per se from Audrey Hale. Nothing that really explains why she did what she did. Nothing defending what she did or the rationale behind it. But she did talk about, he did talk about what she had in the car that day, the horrific day of the shooting. She had a lot of stuffed animals, for example, and so she had, it would appear, some of her favorite stuffed animals. She had a couple of flash drives that documented planning for the attack, obsessive planning at that, he says. They also discovered that she was obsessed with other school shootings and had been thinking about all of this since middle school. Also found her phone in the car as well, and some journals. It is shocking to me when I was hearing Brian go through all of this. It was shocking to me that she's had these thoughts since middle school, and the parents didn't know. And I'm really trying to be sensitive. It's just I was surprised by that, but it's one of those things. She had all of these journals in her room and in her car, flash drives as well. It was also interesting because he describes how, at times she wrote as Audrey. Some points she was Aiden, other points she was Audrey. Now, you know that she was trans, and so she was biological female, but she identified as a male. Aiden was her male alter ego, literally two personas. One was Audrey, the other was Aiden. Audrey's handwriting was more feminine in nature and female-like, if you will. Aiden's writing was more masculine. She had stuffed animals in her bedroom that she cared about deeply, named them, and even at the age of 28. The journal's writings were filled with rage, he says. She hid that rage from her parents and, by and large, the rest of society. You know how she paid for the guns and the training? She took a grant for education, and she didn't use it for education. Again, she used that money for weapons and training, and it turns out, according to the reporting, that she was autistic. She was also fixated on race. She didn't want to kill any black or brown people. She approached the school, did not fire on two Hispanics working on the landscaping, but the first person that she did kill, sadly, was the black custodian. She had some sort of an obsession, fixated, if you will, with black female athletes. She didn't like, quote, and this is a quote, a white khaki-wearing people. She was very close to her mother, apparently wanted to kill her father, as has been reported. And again, she had some, in addition to the autism, she also had an auditory processing disorder. She had a sensitivity to loud noises, bright lights, and certain smells. I thought it was interesting when Brian reported the sensitivity to loud noises because, I mean, when you're in a gun range, I mean, there's loud noises all around. When you're firing the gun, there's loud noises. She had struggles with social interactions. She had troubles with boundaries and social relationships, and she had eating disorders and anxiety as well. Now, all of this, again, the parents had no idea. They were shocked that her plans were to kill the father. She also had some political writings, and I'm going to go through this. There's some cursing. I'm not going to obviously say the curse words. But this is, in case you're just joining us, what is Mandis talking about? This is some of the information that was leaked to our own Brian Wilson from apparently the Metro Nashville Police Department. And it's the documentation and some of the investigation into Audrey Hale. And this is information that has not been released as of yet, except now it has been. It hasn't been released officially, but Brian and others have been posting it and taking part in their own investigations. So this is her political musings. So now in America, it makes one a criminal to have a gun or be transgender or non-binary, wrote Hale. She added, God, I hate those blank-headed politicians. After warning about rights for the disabled, Hale wrote, disabled have rights, civil races have rights, LGBTQ have rights, gun owners have rights. Hale's rant did not appear to overtly reference a major political party, and at one point warned against the United States curtailing its Second Amendment in an effort to become like the United Kingdom or Europe, but closed with remarks expressing frustration over her gender identity. She says, and this is where we'll close for now. So now, she says, because of you, I wish death on myself, cause of the pure hatred of my female gender, Hale declared. She added, with no rights, anyone's country is going to be a blank dictatorship. So, I mean, that is just a small sliver of what Brian had yesterday. There's other stuff that has been posted to yourfarb.com. You can find the link at 997wtn.com. But, you know, it's there's more to come because in talking to him after all of this, he's got just ton of information and, part of this investigation. And the information is abundant that he has. And so he's going to, over the next couple of days, he is going to continue to release what he has. Michael Patrick Leahy over the Tennessee Star. He's going to continue to release what he has as well. Yesterday, by the way, we also told you about how media outlets have been trying to get these documents from Metro Police. And the Metro Police, they wouldn't release these documents. The FBI, and again, this is what I covered for you yesterday, the FBI even said, don't release these documents, and told them how to legally destroy those documents. Gave them the legal precedent, the legal justification, and everything. That is how much the FBI did not want folks to know what was in the very disturbed mind of Audrey Hale. The Members Nutrition Super Text line is open at 615-737-9986. Dan Mandis here. Why do I shop at Brentwood Jewelry? Well, I shop at Brentwood Jewelry because it is a great store. It is very American. I mean, they love America. When you walk into Brentwood Jewelry, they've got flags all over the place, and you can really tell that they love and respect America. And that's why I like to shop at Brentwood Jewelry. Now, again, the best thing about these folks is not only their patriotism, but also they've got a great selection of engagement rings, wedding rings. Whether you're talking about a watch for your dad on Father's Day, they've got a great selection of whatever you need related to jewelry. So no matter the season or the reason, Brentwood Jewelry has all kinds of gift options for you to choose from. I also love, again, that when you walk into Brentwood Jewelry, they do have those flags everywhere. It is clear that they appreciate conservative values. Located in the heart of Brentwood at 7012 Church Street East, just off Franklin Road. Exceptional style, exceptional deals every day for over 50 years. Shop in store or online at BrentwoodJewelry.com. It is 7:23 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Ken Weaver, what's coming up in the news?
Well, we'll let you hear some of what's going on in Normandy, France, marking 80 years since D-Day. Nashville installing new traffic technology. Former President Trump getting another legal victory of sorts at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com. and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com. Well, 7:28. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So there's a moment that apparently is getting a lot of attention. I'm going to tweet it out right now. You can find me at Dan Mandis Show. And it is of Joe Biden. I'm going to repost. So apparently he's up on the stage in Normandy. I think this was before his speech. And you've got Jill next to him, and he's got Macron, I guess, to Joe's right, and his whoever it is to the right of Macron, and Biden. Everybody else is standing at attention, and Biden is just like stooped over, and I don't know if he's trying to. And you can follow me on Twitter at Dan Mandis Show. I don't know if he's trying to figure out, hey, is it okay if I sit down? Everyone around him, I just noticed too, everyone around him is standing, but then I think Jill covers her mouth and tells Joe, keep standing, you idiot. I think that's what's going on. Check it out at Dan Mandis Show on Twitter, on X, if you want to check that out. I think it's Jill telling him to keep standing. So you can take a look for yourself. It is 7:30 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here with a question for you. If your roof was destroyed in a storm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? Now, if you don't know, you really do need to ask, because some insurance companies refuse to pay full replacement cost, and they'll deduct money for an older roof. And this means that the insurance company will depreciate how much they pay for your roof claim. Now, that could leave you on the hook for thousands of dollars. Now, my friends at King & Associates Insurance, they will pay full replacement cost. So whether you have to replace a 10-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they are going to pay for it to be replaced, period. It is that kind of focus on customer service that makes King & Associates Insurance one of the best insurance companies around. So call them, 615-329-8121. Get your royal review, tkinginsurance.com.
7:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And just in time for CMA Fest, we're going to dry out. Lots of sunshine today. Less humidity. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Ceremonies underway in Normandy, France, marking the 80th anniversary of D-Day.
Monsieur Bill Cassasa.
The last surviving soldiers from that generation presented with honors. Some veterans needing assistance standing up to receive their medals presented by French President Emmanuel Macron. The remaining survivors are in their 90s. Some are over 100 years of age. President Biden used part of his speech to assure Ukraine in its fight against Russia's invasion.
We will not walk away.
Biden defending his decision to allow Ukraine to use American weapons to strike targets inside Russia, saying they're authorized to be used in proximity to the border, not Moscow or the Kremlin. And right now in Nashville, new laser technology that captures near misses between cars and people is being used to figure out ways to increase safety. Channel 4 talked to people who say close calls happen all the time where they live.
You can get hit just walking. I mean, just walk across the street. They don't even pay attention to the signs. I think they're at least trying to increase the safety, but whether it'll actually work or not remains to be seen.
So the first light detection and ranging device, known as LiDAR, is now up and running at the intersection of Clarksville Pike and 26th Avenue North. There'll be 7 more installed in coming months. And healthcare network Ascension says it's making progress on recovering from a cyber attack. News 2 says the company posted to Facebook it should be completely recovered by late next week. For now, it says home delivery and specialty pharmacy sites are open and able to meet prescription needs. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 732, Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis here. How would you like to be debt-free of your car loans and no credit card debt, no personal loans? My friends at Loan Pronto can help you do just that. Now, you can tap into that equity in your home today and save you money on those high-interest loans that I just mentioned. Homeowners are turning that home equity into cash these days almost instantly with Loan Pronto's AI-based system. It takes about 10 minutes, and yes, it is really easy. There's no documentation, no appraisal, and no hassle, just relief from those high-interest payments. So call them right now and get started with Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780, 615-499-5780. You can find them online. It's loanpronto.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval. 737, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you listening for, well, it's D-Day, June 6th of 2024, 80 years ago today. Those brave veterans stormed the beaches of Normandy. President Biden has just finished his speech. There is a moment that is going viral. I went ahead and tweeted it out myself. You can find it at Dan Mandis Show. I think that there's reason why it's going viral. I don't think it's really that big of a deal. The president was trying to sit down when it was clear that he was supposed to be standing up. Jill Biden sort of covers her mouth and basically says, "You're supposed to be standing up." And so he did what he did, and he stood up. So obviously the comment would be, well, didn't he know because everybody else was standing up that it was, time for him to remain standing? Obviously not. And that brings into the conversation the fact that the president is having a serious mental and physical decline. There's no other way to say it. Now, there's a bunch of stuff going on today, and I've been trying to cover everything for you. President Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, just going to go through a couple of headlines real quick. He has apparently narrowed his VP search down to just 7 candidates as vetting papers are now sent out to potential running mates. So who are they talking about? Doug Burgum, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Tim Scott were allegedly contacted. Byron Donalds, Elise Stefanik, and Ben Carson are also said to have been contacted. So those are the 7. Now, earlier, I asked the super texters at 615-737-9986, if you could pick just one, who would you pick? So I went through them. I don't think that Doug Burgum is eloquent enough, or I don't think he speaks in as passionate a manner as we like these days. I think he's kind of a low-key guy, and I could be wrong on Doug Burgum, but because he's very smart and he's a great politician. But I just think that we need somebody who has a little more of a fire under their butt. That's why I think Doug Burgum would not be a good pick. But whatever. Marco Rubio. I'm lukewarm on Marco Rubio these days. Also, Tim Scott. You folks know that I'm a big Tim Scott fan. Byron Donalds, Elise Stefanik, Ben Carson. I like Elise Stefanik a lot. I do. But for me, really, it comes down to, first of all, please not Ben Carson. Please not Ben Carson. For me, I think that it's going to be between Byron Donalds and J.D. Vance. And for me, I think I like J.D. Vance. But I like Byron Donalds too. Either one of those two, and I'm going to be a fan of that decision. Okay, so CNN has a big headline up right now. It says, Biden, democracy more at risk now than it has been since the end of World War II. So, of course, the thinking, and I have not heard the clip, but the thinking is, okay, so he did end up politicizing it because you know that is for the president and for the Democrats. They like to say that Donald Trump, and I'm eye-rolling here, Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, right? We hear that all the time. So did he incorporate just a little bit of politics into this speech in France where they're commemorating 80 years since D-Day? So we pulled the audio bite. Jeff, you've got the audio bite?
Yeah, I got the clip where he speaks about it. I have the before, so there's a little context, and then after.
Go ahead.
Yeah, here we go.
All right, so he's talking about...
He's mainly talking about Putin, I believe. Like
he's talking about Putin?
He said this after he talked about Ukraine for a good 2.5 minutes.
All right.
He never brought up Trump's name. So he didn't even bring up Putin. He called him just a tyrant.
Right.
So obviously he was talking about Putin there. So this is primarily, I believe, the war in Ukraine more than anything.
Do you know what I think it is, young Jeff? I think that's a dog whistle. I think that's a dog whistle from Joe Biden to all of his little Democrat progressive friends here in America. That's what it is. I'm not going to get excited over that comment. I mean, I do believe, I will disagree with you, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that is a bit of a dog whistle. I think that he is mentioning Trump without mentioning Trump.
He did say around the world. He didn't just say in Russia, so I can understand what you're implying for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, he never, he never said Putin's name either, but he was obviously implying Putin there as well. I think he's
implying Trump. He knows what he's doing.
When he said around the world, you can definitely put that together.
That's exactly right. See, you're going to survive here, Jeff. You're agreeing with the host. Good job. I'm totally kidding. All right, turn off your mic. And the reason I'm telling Jeff to turn off his mic is because I was in the middle of a monologue earlier and he left his mic on so I can hear him typing or whatever it is. And I'm like, turn off your microphone. Anyway, moving right along. So that is Joe Biden, and his speech is over. And I'm assuming now that he'll be flying off. By the way, how do I know? Ask me this, Jeff. How do I know that he was talking about Donald Trump? Because CNN has had that same headline for the past 10, 15 minutes. Biden, democracy more at risk now than it has been since the end of World War II. So CNN obviously picked up on it, and I'm sure that they had a what do you call it? They had a press release of what his speech would be. And so they knew that he was going to say that. And so they've got this all set up, and they've got, there are multiple boxes, and they're going to be talking about this comment because they're picking up on this because they know that Biden was talking about Donald Trump. Now, you would think that this would be a sacred day. But you know what's interesting, though, is that on the one hand, I believe, and I know a lot of folks believe that he was talking about Donald Trump, but he never said his name. So you can just as easily say, oh, he wasn't talking about Donald Trump. You know what I mean? So he does have that plausible deniability.
He's got an out.
He's got an out. Wish we had an out, but it is time for traffic. 7:45 on Super Talk 99.7. Time to check the roads. $7:46 on Super Talk 99.7 today. High of 87, sunny as well. So somebody wants to know, why exactly is it that I'm not a fan of Ben Carson? I'm a big fan of Ben Carson. I really like Ben Carson. I've always liked Ben Carson. But I just don't think that Carson has that fire in his belly. We need somebody, and I understand that Trump has a lot of fire in him. I understand that. We need somebody, and I do know and get that we need somebody maybe to balance out the fire of Donald Trump. But can I just be honest with you? We need all the firepower that we can get as conservatives right now. That's the whole point. The whole point, whether it's J.D. Vance or Byron Donalds, people are bringing up Tulsi Gabbard. We need somebody who can bring the fire just like Donald Trump. We do. And again, I like Ben Carson. I've interviewed him, I think, between 3 radio stations. I think I've interviewed him probably 5 or 6 different times. And I respect him greatly. He is a great medical mind. I believe he's got a great political mind as well. But he's very tired. Why are you lukewarm? They say, this is 4317. Why in the world are you lukewarm on Marco Rubio? Number one, I think he's a good senator. For me, I like the passion and I like what's the right way to put this? I think Byron Donalds really carries himself well. I think that he sounds really good. I think he's got a lot of credibility. Marco Rubio is original member of the Gang of Eight. I mean, I don't want to go down that road this morning, but for whatever reason, I'm just lukewarm on Marco Rubio. I think that most of the things that he says are obvious, and he's a guy that is, very, he's loyal to Donald Trump now, but I just think that J.D. Vance or Byron Donalds, I think that they're going to be the ones to get it done. I think that Donalds is a rising star in the Republican Party. I think that Rubio, flag the tape, everybody, because who knows, Marco Rubio may eventually be a president. But I think that Marco Rubio's best days are behind him. That's what I'm going to say. I think Byron Donalds, I think his best days are ahead of him. Now, the question is, if you're Byron Donalds or, anyone, do you really want to be Donald Trump's running mate and eventual vice president if he wins? Because we all know what happened to Mike Pence. And, not going to get into all of the weeds of January 6th, but Pence was put in a really, really difficult position. And so if you're Byron Donalds and you got to ask yourself, okay, so I'm just getting started here and I'm really smart and I'm really good at what I do and I can debate with the best of them. And he's got courage. That's the other thing I love about Byron Donalds, man. Dude's got courage. So you've got all of these things working for you. Donald Trump, like it or not, he is very controversial. And so if Donalds becomes his vice president or his running mate, is that good or bad for Byron Donalds? I've heard the argument go both ways. Now, the way that Trump is right now, with his policies, with his popularity, and I think if you get a Byron Donalds who is akin to Donald Trump, then I think that it would be good for Byron Donalds' political career if he became Donald Trump's running mate, because he then could become the heir apparent. Same with J.D. Vance. That's what I mean. I think that Trump has this opportunity to not only win the next presidential election, but he's also got the opportunity to pass the torch to someone else. And I used to really like Marco Rubio. Bigger fan of Ted Cruz. I think I liked Marco Rubio for president years ago. I think I liked him for a couple of weeks. Moved on to Ted Cruz. I liked Ben Carson. Ultimately, we all know what happened with Donald Trump. But that's why I'm lukewarm on Marco Rubio. So there's a lot of great names. Here's the great thing. If you're conservative, we are flush with the next generation. I do believe that we're flush with the next generation. Listen, I get Tulsi Gabbard, but she still has some Democrat views. I don't think that she has completely made the switch to, all things conservative. But I do believe that she is someone who could really do a lot of good for the Republican Party. Thank you, TB. Donalds is a good choice. Let's see here. Dan, you think having Elise Stefanik being a woman would help? I do. I think it would. And we know from the polling that Trump is not doing well with women. So, yeah, Elise Stefanik could help as well. By the way, you know what's interesting? So when we talk about Elise Stefanik, or you talk about Byron Donalds specifically, political strategists will tell you, oh, it's a great pick. Byron Donalds is a great pick because he's black. Do you know that I don't even think about Byron Donalds as related to his skin color? I mean, obviously, I know that he's black. Obviously, I understand there is a certain strategy that goes with picking these running mates. But Byron Donalds is just good all the way around, whether he's black or white or green or yellow or blue. Whatever. I just like him, and he's really strong. So again, between him or J.D. Vance. You folks really don't like Mike Pence. Let's see here. Steven says Marco Rubio is a rhino. All right.
You think they don't like Pence because of, well, obviously
January
what happened,
6th.
obviously that, but as soon as that fly landed on his head on those debates,
there was that awkward
it was downhill
moment.
from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I always felt like Trump got stuck with Mike Pence because he had to, when he made correct. When Trump got the nomination, he had to make some concessions with the Republicans. Mike Pence, as VP, was one of them.
I get that.
I think if I remember right, Sean Spicer being the original White House press secretary
the SNL
was another.
sketch himself.
Yes. So anyway, there you go. So what I'm looking forward to is Trump making all of his own decisions right away if he ultimately ends up being the nominee. It is 7:54 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Listen, I'm a Beehive member, have been for a long time. Now, they do know the times are tough. They don't want the cost of things to interfere with your comfort this summer. So they're offering actually some great financing options right now for you. Up to 12 months, no interest, no payments with approved credit. Also, great new deals on HVAC units. They're offering free air duct cleaning, fogging, and UV light home treatment with the purchase of selected new units. They've got some plumbing specials as well. $500 off select tankless water heaters and $500 off upright Essency water heaters as well. Becoming a Beehive member definitely does have its benefits. You can call them at 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833. They are your Rude Pro partner. Call them today. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 615-775-7833. BusyBeeHVAC.com. 7:54. Ken Weaver, what's coming up in the news at 8?
New traffic sensing technology installed in Nashville. Reward increase for information on a Christmas Day road rage murder. Hear the sounds and some of the speeches from today's 80th D-Day ceremony in France, and learn how much more that summertime cookout's going to cost you this year. Coming up at 8 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Could see a very isolated shower or rumble of thunder this afternoon, but it's going to be mostly sunny the vast majority of time and across the vast majority of Middle Tennessee all day. Humidity headed lower. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. D-Day. Today marks 80 years since Allied forces invaded German-occupied France, which eventually led to the fall of Hitler's Nazi regime and the end of World War II. And the last surviving soldiers from the D-Day generation presented with honors in Normandy today. Some veterans needing assistance standing up. Remaining survivors are in their 90s. Some are over 100 years of age. President Biden used part of his speech to reassure Ukraine of U.S. and NATO support against Russia's invasion.
We know the dark forces that these heroes fought against 80 years ago. They never fade.
Prior to today's ceremonies, Biden on ABC defended his decision to allow Ukraine to use American weapons to strike targets inside Russia, but not Moscow or the Kremlin, he says. New traffic sensors being installed in Nashville. They're not like the license plate reader cameras. Officials say they don't record license plates. They're not going to put your face on anything. These devices, they say, use lasers that map objects in 3D to record when there are near misses between cars and then cars and people, so officials can make changes to increase safety.
This project allows us to get ahead of the data a little bit. Instead of waiting for those crashes to happen, we can identify areas with data where we know crashes are possible due to the number of near misses. So this allows us to fix those issues, before someone's injured or even worse, killed.
That's NDOT Chief Traffic Engineer Derek Haggerty telling News 2 the first light detection and ranging device, or LiDAR, is up and running at Clarksville Pike and 26th Avenue. 7 more sensors to be going up in the coming months. Metro Police say the reward is increased for information leading to an arrest and indictment in a Christmas Day road rage murder a few years ago. 37-year-old Christopher Sponhorst fatally shot while driving on I-24 West between Shelby Avenue and James Robertson Parkway. That's someone in a black 2016-2017 Kia Optima sedan. The reward for information now up to $23,000. Police say call Crime Stoppers if you have information. And in money news, the wildfires that plagued Texas cattle ranchers last winter may drive up your grocery bills this summer. Jim Ryan says beef prices already sitting at historic highs.
Despite the heavy rains that have recently soaked the region, Texas cattle rancher Ben Weinheimer says,
we've seen drought conditions in the south and southeastern United States, where many of our feeder cattle come from,
forcing ranchers to shrink their herds. The smaller the nation's cattle herd, the more consumers will be paying for beef.
Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. Dow futures down 19, S&P flat, NASDAQ up 15. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
.807 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. How are you, friends? I'm doing all right. It's Thursday, June 6th, 2024, D-Day, of course, 80 years ago today. And President Biden gave a speech earlier, about an hour or so ago. And CNN, man, they are just excited and giddy at the fact that the president was warning of these threats to democracy. Now, we're having a bit of a debate, excuse me. We're having this debate earlier about whether or not he was talking about Donald Trump. I think given the fact that CNN is going crazy on this, I believe that they are believing that he was talking about Donald Trump. I believe that he was talking about Donald Trump. We're going to play it for you one more time. Make sure the fine folks that are watching YouTube and Facebook can hear this as well. This was President Biden a little bit earlier.
We will not bow down. We will not forget. Let me end with this. History tells us freedom is not free. If you want to know the price of freedom, come here to Normandy. Come to Normandy and look. Go to the other cemeteries in Europe where our fallen heroes rest. Go back home to Arlington Cemetery. Tomorrow, I will pay respects at Pointe du Hoc. Go there as well and remember, the price of unchecked tyranny is the blood of the young and the brave. In their generation, in their hour of trial, the Allied forces of D-Day did their duty. Now the question for us is, in our hour of trial, will we do ours? We're living in a time when democracy is more at risk across the world than any point since the end of World War II, since these beaches were stormed in 1944. Now we have to ask ourselves, will we stand against tyranny, against evil, against crushing brutality of the iron fist? Will we stand for freedom? Will we defend democracy? Will we stand together? My answer is yes, and only can be yes.
All right, so I think he's talking about Trump. The second time that I heard that, I said this the first time. Now that I've heard it a second time, clearly he's talking... He's talking.
You don't think Putin's in there also?
About Donald Trump.
You don't think that's Putin as well?
No,
think it's just
I think
general?
he's talking about Trump.
It's just straight. Okay.
Here's what I think, Jeff. I think that he's talking about Trump. If they ask Cringe Jean-Pierre about it, she'll probably say, oh, he was talking about dictators across the world.
Again, it's the out we were discussing
There's always
earlier.
an out.
Gotcha.
Yeah. 2400, it's an absolute shame that Biden would hijack the 80th anniversary of D-Day for politics. I love this. By the way, the super text of the day, 5645. You ready? How does it feel to have to parse out your own arguments from the super text line so that you can regurgitate them back to your audience? What a blank jerk this station is. So I sent back to 5645. It's called communicating with the audience. And this is one of my favorite parts of the show, is being able to communicate with folks via the super text line. And most people agree with you, by the way, or with me, by the way. Let's see here. Chris says, watching all of us on YouTube, and apparently I'm looking sharp, Dan, all color coordinated. Thank you. It doesn't happen all that often, as a matter of fact. Yeah, it is interesting because you have all of these folks on CNN, and they are reporting Biden warning of this threat to democracy in D-Day 80th anniversary speech. You know what they're trying to do, by the way? I mean, I believe this is obvious, and then they've got David Petraeus up there talking about all this. They are desperately trying to change the narrative because right now, the news of the day, and I was covering this quite a bit earlier, the news of the day, of course, is Joe Biden and his lack of cognitive abilities, his diminishing cognitive abilities. And so part of the discussion today has to be, as Biden goes and he does the speech in France, that he gave the speech and he warned of threats to democracy, i.e., Donald Trump. They're trying to flip the script. They're trying to, move away from the narrative that Joe Biden is a well-meaning, forgetful, feeble, old man. I think I shanked that, but you folks know what I'm talking about. Because it has been a bad 24 hours for Joe Biden. 24 to 48 hours. You had not one, but two big-time media outlets come out and talk about how Joe Biden is rapidly diminishing in the faculties department. And now it's so bad because the White House came out and they started going after these writers, one for Time Magazine and one for the Wall Street Journal. And they're saying, oh, this is nothing but a Republican hatchet job. No, there were Democrats who came out and said the same thing, that Biden, when he goes into meetings, he's staring off into space. He is not paying attention, and he's speaking in a really low voice, and he's not nearly the same guy that he was years ago. Now, the Wall Street Journal, of course, they had the author on Fox News, a person by the name of Siobhan Hughes, and White House is out there saying, oh, if you could only see the president behind closed doors in private, if you only actually saw him in those meetings, he's full of vigor and energy. We have a hard time keeping up with him. And this Wall Street Journal article, the writer says, nope.
The picture that's being painted here is one of a president who behind closed doors is very much the same as what you see in public. Somebody who has good days, good moments, but also bad days and bad moments. And the reason that's significant is the White House position has been that if only you could see the president behind closed doors, if only you could see what we see, he's absolutely sharp as a tack. And so this aims to find out, well, what is the president like behind closed doors? It's what's happening there, different from what the public sees. And the answer is not very much.
Yeah, remember that Jon Stewart bit when he played the montage of all of these various White House officials saying, if you only saw him in meetings, and Stewart says, did you tape it? And of course, nobody has any audio or video of Joe Biden taking command in all of these various meetings. And when you talk about, you just heard that Siobhan Hughes, the Wall Street Journal author of that article, talking about how Biden is in meetings. Here's the thing. For a guy like Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping, you can talk about all of these dictators across the world. They are sharp every single day. And I don't know if I've ever seen Joe Biden in the last couple of years. I don't know if I've ever seen him sharp.
Do you remember they had Kirk Douglas even defend him, saying he was sharp behind closed doors?
Kirk Douglas?
Yeah, they had him. I believe it was a morning show.
Kirk Douglas? How would Kirk Douglas know?
I'll find the clip. I will find this clip. I 100% know this is real.
I mean, he and Robert Downey Jr., speaking from authority clearly, here is, well, let me take the traffic real quick. 8:16, I got a little bit more audio for you on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 87 degrees today, sunny, and right now it is 72 at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So playing some of this audio from this Siobhan Hughes, and she is the author, the writer of that piece in the Wall Street Journal about how Biden is, simply put, not the same person that he was years ago. And they say that he just freezes up in meetings, and they had 45 or so people interviewed, both Republicans and Democrats. And she says that, the president just is not doing well in these meetings.
We focused on 3 meetings in particular all over the course of the past year. And there were things like mumbling, speaking in such a low voice that people could only hear every other word or couldn't understand what he was saying. This over-reliance on note cards, using note cards to make what were very obvious points and using them in ways that affected the spontaneity of the conversation. Having a loose command of the details. Things like in the Ukraine meeting we talked about in January of this year, using note cards to make the point that Ukraine aid needed to be on the table when everybody in that room, by and large, agreed that Ukraine aid needed to pass. That wasn't the question. The question is, how do we do this quickly?
All right, so it wasn't Kirk Douglas, it was Michael Douglas.
Yes, I Joe Biden did a little bit with the misnames, but
that's
yes.
Okay.
So in context, this was a month ago. He was on CNN promoting, I think, a movie or something.
Yeah.
But they asked him because Biden and him are the same age.
Yeah.
And here's the clip. Let me get it ready for you.
All right.
Around everything. And I remember saying, "You sure you're not looking for a kamikaze pilot?" I said, "I don't think so."
So you and Biden are about the same age. What do you think? Are you one of those people who wished he had bowed out, let the field choose somebody else? How do you think about that?
Well, I think that I walk a little similar to him, and the people that I've talked to and everybody that I have say he's as sharp as a tack. He's fine. We all have an issue with memories. As we get older, we forget names. He's overcome a stutter in his life.
It.
Sometimes
I don't mind.
He might. But let's just say that his entire cabinet, including his vice president, everybody in his cabinet, would be more than happy to work with him again in the next term.
I bet they would. I've heard enough.
That stutter thing always is like, no, he didn't.
That gets so annoying to me. I don't know if he did or didn't have a stutter, but
as
it's not.
As a kid, maybe.
Well, exactly, as a kid. But, I played audio from him from 2012.
He clearly, stuff in the 70s and 80s, he never had a stutter. When he was running for president in 88, he never did.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you know what he's doing?
Clearly grew out of it.
He's actually plagiarizing someone else's stutter. That's what he's doing.
That's right. But you see,
that was actually funny.
He said sharp as a tack, just like every single other person that defends this.
That's
the code word.
The talking point. That is the talking point, is that Joe Biden is sharp as a tack. If he is the exact opposite of sharp as a tack, but what would the exact opposite of sharp as a tack?
Dumb as a doornail?
I don't think Joe Biden is dumb. So I don't want to call him dumb. I think he's dumb, but I don't want to call him dumb.
Okay.
It's not about age. It's about his diminishing cognitive abilities. So what would it be? If you're sharp as a tack, you are dull as a... What would it be? I think dull as a doorknob. I think that would be good.
Okay. Or like a hammer.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've got. I know the super texters will come through on this one.
Oh,
what is the opposite of sharp as a tack? And by the way, again, it's not about age, because Michael Douglas, he's older. He's not dead like Kirk Douglas, Jeff. But for the president, Trump isn't that far behind Biden, and Trump is right there. He's got all of his cognitive abilities. It sounds like Michael Douglas is doing okay, except for his support of Joe Biden. But it sounds like he's got all of his cognitive abilities. So I don't know. Let's see here.
The text line has exploded.
It has. Dull as a butter knife.
I saw bowling ball, basketball.
Sharp as a tack, dull as a basketball, dull as a 2x4, dull as a marble. Wow, good Lord. You see, Jeff, people do listen to this show.
Spoon, butter knife again.
All right.
Marshmallow.
You know who I want to know? You know who would have a great, response to what is the opposite of sharp as a tack, because I believe that's what Joe Biden is? Matt Murphy. Matt Murphy, I guarantee you, if I put out, Matt, if you're listening, I want to know what you would say, because he's brilliant. I want to know what Matt would say is the difference between the opposite of sharp as a tack.
What about Senator John Kennedy?
Kennedy would be another great one, Ken.
I mean, he had one the other day.
Oh, yeah, he's, you know.
Something about selling catheters.
Well, what Kennedy said was Joe Biden has the approval rating of someone selling catheters or something.
Yeah, on late night TV.
He also said fungal infection.
Fungal infection, that's what it was.
That's what it was.
You know what?
The catheter one's good though. I like that.
You know what? I almost kind of mixed up all of that, and with my own Biden moment, I almost said, Joe Biden is as popular as chlamydia. But that's not what Robert Kennedy said. That's what I almost said that he said, but that's clearly not what he said. We're going to go now. 822. Nashville's Morning News. Moon Valley Nurseries. I am in the middle of a great backyard makeover, and I know the value of updating and upgrading your backyard. Moon Valley Nurseries can help you if you've been thinking about upgrading it too. Now, think about what you would like to do with your own backyard and what would you want in your perfect backyard. Then check them out online at moonvalleynurseries.com/getgrowing. Now, I can tell you from my own personal experience that you can actually add a ton of livable space to your home when you do this, not to mention you're also increasing the value of your home. So if you're not quite sure what you need, but you do know that you need something, get a free design consultation from Moon Valley Nurseries. You can prepare, and they can help you prepare for any backyard event, big or small. They can help you by creating the perfect setting for anything, big or small. Find them online. As always, tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. It's moonvalleynurseries.com/getgrowing. moonvalleynurseries.com/getgrowing. It is 8:24 on Nashville's Morning News. And Ken Weaver, what's coming up in the news at 8:30?
We'll let you hear some of today's D-Day 80th anniversary ceremony in France. One of our European allies now accusing Israel of genocide. President Biden being pressured to halt weapons to Israel, which could hurt him further with the black vote if he doesn't comply, according to this group. Coming up at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com. 829 on Super Talk 99.7 News with Ken Weaver. Coming up next, Dan Mandis here. I've been telling you about Stoltz Co. and their incredible pole barns. Now, you can put them anywhere, and they can function as anything. What I want you to do, go to their website. It is stoltzco.com, STOLTZCO, stoltzco.com, and take a look for yourself at their amazing construction. They're versatile, too. You could build a pole barn from Stoltz Co. You could build one for your vehicles, for your horses. You can use one as an event space, and if you have enough land, you can build a pole barn and you can live in it. We call them barn dominiums. So check them out, Stoltz Co. They are among the elite in pole barn construction here in Middle Tennessee. You can also find them online, again, stoltzco.com. They've got a great Instagram and Facebook page as well. You can call them for an estimate, 615-622-5992, 615-622-5992 for Stoltz Co.
"8:30 on the dot this Thursday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and just in time for CMA Fest. Drier, less humid weather. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Today marking the 80th anniversary of D-Day, the day in 1944 Allies invaded German-occupied France and changed World War II, led to the fall of Hitler's Nazi regime. President Biden among world leaders speaking in Normandy.
We have to ask ourselves, will we stand against tyranny, against evil, against crushing brutality of the iron fist? Will we stand for freedom? Will we defend democracy?
Biden reaffirming U.S. and NATO support for Ukraine. President Biden under pressure from the nation's largest civil rights organization to stop giving weapons to Israel. Reuters says the NAACP urged Biden today to indefinitely halt weapons deliveries to Israel, threatening his support for Israel could hurt him among black voters in November. And Spain is the first European country to apply to join South Africa's case with the International Court of Justice in The Hague that accuses Israel of genocide in Gaza. Money News, Jim Ryan.
Weekly first-time claims for jobless benefits are considered a reliable indicator of layoff activity. And in the week ending June 1st, 229,000 out-of-work Americans submitted their paperwork, an increase of 8,000 from the week before. Still, the 4-week moving average is lower, but only slightly.
Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. All right, a couple of minutes into the brand new trading day. Let's see where stocks are. The Dow is up 19, S&P is up 2, NASDAQ up 14. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
8:35, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. The Gang of Four Amigos is coming up next. Get the speed you need at a great price with Xfinity Internet. Dan Mandis here. You know what's going on in my house. With all three of us working on our computers, doing homework or radio shows, we depend on Xfinity Internet in my house, and you can too. Now, you can get up to 5 times faster upload speeds for smoother connections on the largest gig speed network from Xfinity. And Xfinity's gig speed internet is available to 99% of their footprint. In other words, it is fast, it is reliable, and it's pretty much everywhere. You can also enjoy all your favorite apps all in one place with a Flex 4K streaming box. And yes, you can stay connected on the go with over 20 million secure Xfinity Wi-Fi hotspots nationwide. To get started, call 1-800-XFINITY. Find them online, xfinity.com, or drop into an Xfinity store today for more details. Actual speeds vary and are not guaranteed. Based on Xfinity's fastest available download speeds, not available in all areas. Performance may be limited by customer's device configuration. $8:37, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in to the Gang of Four Amigos. Jeff is here. Jeff, you've done such a great job today. You're going to be the first amigo. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Rule number 1, never ask anybody how they are, whether it's a phone caller or anything else. You don't say, how are you? It elongates everything.
Okay, then.
Which is what just happened.
Yeah, you just...
I break that rule every phone call, by the way.
I know you do.
I know.
I've been meaning to talk to you about that.
It's such a automatic response. I just, even if I don't like the person, if it's like a telelistener, like I don't even want to be on there, I'm like, or like, I don't know, my apartment.
Talk radio programming people are a little behind the curtain. Talk radio people, like the highfalutin programmers, will say, never ask a caller, how are you? Because nobody really cares. And everybody's always just fine. Watch this. Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm good. How's everybody else doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Ken, how we doing?
Well, this morning I got up.
You know, my bunions are acting up. I don't know.
Yeah,
How was the mushroom coffee?
I didn't get any this morning, Brother Jeff. It was not there, and I'm hankering for some.
All right.
I'm hankering for it.
Well, it's a good thing, Ken. You've only got like 9 hours left in your shift. Hey, so you know what I did in the 5:35 version of the Gang of Three Amigos?
I'm excited to find out.
I totally ripped off
Getting to know you.
the brilliant Matt Murphy.
Getting to know all.
And we played Getting to Know You with young Jeff, who is now in is it your third in for Johnny B, your third shift here with us?
This will be my second. My third will be tomorrow.
I think today's show, Jeff, would very much personify the sophomore jinx. Because you had a great show yesterday, and then you just kind of shanked it today.
Yeah,
But that's
it was a rough one. I pulled a Dak Prescott today.
So you know what? I actually know who that is. So you know what I'm going to make Jeff do as penance for your multiple shanks today? Mm-hmm. They were bagging on him on the F&M Bank chat line, and I told Jeff he's got to read some on the air.
I found more on YouTube negatives.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I'm not going to say their name, not going to give them that satisfaction.
Okay.
But as soon as I got on, they went, "Go away, Jeff."
Oh.
He smells.
Wow.
Don't know why they went there.
Yeah.
And also, some other people said my beard was unkempt. I'm like, my beard is fine. But it then went to a point when he said, fire me. He wanted you to fire me, and I was a DEI hire.
A DEI hire?
I don't know.
Is that because we don't have enough Russians around here?
I guess maybe, but the guy just went absolutely.
Did you find the one where he said that you sounded whiny?
Yeah, I don't know
good.
what that meant. Well, I know what that means, but
it means you sound whiny.
I'm not.
I like that Dan brought that up. But what about this one?
Yeah, what about the what? And then, but no,
oh,
I will have to give credit to Turd Ferguson because he has been defending me He's been defending me from others. He calls me Geoff, which I don't like because he uses GEOFF, the incorrect name for Jeff. I will die on that hill. Jeff spelled GEOFF is wrong, and anyone spelled like that.
That's a classy way to spell it.
It's the wrong way to spell it. But and then I found one on the text chat, 8715.
Yes.
He says, you actually have a liberal working with you, and you're going to have to mentor him, Dan. He's having issues already. Don't know how I'm...
You know what I've noticed? You know what I've noticed is every time I'm throwing down some conservative values, Jeff screws up. That's what he does. To distract me from the conservatism that I'm throwing down.
I have been making fun of Biden like the rest of us. How dare I? I am not a liberal. I will say that with utmost certainty.
You'll notice he takes more offense to being called a liberal than being whiny.
I don't care about that, but you call me a liberal. I'm like, I am in Tennessee, sir. I'm not here to vote for the people that fake playing dead in the courthouse.
Yes.
I'm here to I like no taxes. I did one of those compasses, and I'm right leaning when it comes to economy mainly. So stop taxing me.
Want the government out of your life.
I just don't want them to tax me so much. That's all I care about. That's why I always think about
them out of my life.
But that's why I'm like, when I think about an athlete, I'm like, man, a guy gets a $200 million deal. Well, if he's playing for LA, he gets 80 million of that. It's a ridiculous. The fact you can be taxed over 50% of your income is absolutely ridiculous.
All right, so we know that you're a conservative. And luckily, you don't make that much money. It would really suck to make that much money, wouldn't it, Jeff?
Oh my gosh! Could you imagine those poor athletes? What do we should raise some money for them to cover the taxes.
We really should.
That's what we should do. I know we do the Nashville Rescue Mission. Maybe next Christmas we can raise some money for their taxes.
Oh my goodness gracious, that would be funny. All right, is that? Did you send me audio?
I did send you audio.
Right, so
I've been getting into it on Twitter because I have a story where a 4 foot tall, demonic looking crossing guard in Pennsylvania, this lady, I say lady, I'm not a biologist, so don't quote me. This lady was giving drugs to middle schoolers. So I called this woman demonic because she looks demonic. She has a beard, and this woman on Twitter randomly finds me and starts saying that I'm a racist and I'm making fun of people with disabilities.
You're a racist and you're making fun of people with disabilities.
You have to see a picture of this woman, though.
Okay.
Go to my Twitter, @ChrisHandOnAir. I've tweeted out this news story that we're about to play. She was charged with supplying middle school students with narcotics.
Wow.
She's 4 feet tall. She looks like she got out of a clown car, and she has a beard.
It's a concept.
All right, so I'm going to...
Do you see the picture of her?
No, I haven't. I just like the description.
And
she's got a beard.
She has a beard.
Goodness.
All right, I got to look this up now, too.
Look, here. Dan, check this picture out.
Got to get the verified.
What in the world? You tweeted that out at Chris Hand on air?
Yes, I'm showing a picture to everybody.
She does look demonic. There's no other way.
I found your Scott Hall tweet, which as a wrestling fan, I appreciate.
All right, so this is the news story. Chris, you sent me this is the news story?
Yes, sir.
As police led 26-year-old Kiara Lee to a waiting van, her feet shackled. She faces a list of charges, including possession of drugs and corruption of minors. Investigators say she used her position as a crossing guard at an intersection near Penwoods Middle School to get close to kids and gave at least one child edible marijuana.
So I call this woman, I say,
sorry.
I said this 4 foot tall crossing guard is demonic. And then I get this random lady from North Carolina starts tweeting me, calling me a racist because obviously I would only do this because she's a black woman. But I didn't mention race. I just mentioned that she's 4 foot tall with a beard.
Oh, my God. I have her Twitter. Sorry, you have to listen to this. The Trump supporters are attacking me like January 6th. She just posted that 20 minutes ago.
Say that one more time.
The woman that you were tweeting, she just posted about 25 minutes ago. The Trump supporters are attacking me like January 6th. Wow.
Well, because
I don't know if that's sarcasm or not, or like that's overinflated.
She essentially called me a racist and making fun of people with disabilities. I said, yeah, defend the 4-foot-tall crossing guard giving drugs to kids. Good take.
That's funny.
And so everybody that follows me has been kind of weighing in as well.
All right. So am I going to play this now?
Yeah.
What is this?
All right. So this next piece of audio I found. So I really want to get all the things this morning.
Yeah.
So I'm making fun of disabilities. I'm a racist, and now it's Pride Month. So I found a video that apparently the concept of time, is transphobic.
Did you know that queer and trans people actually experience time completely differently to cishet people? It's a concept called queer temporality, and it basically has to do with the fact that historically, as queer and trans people, our lives have started much later, and for a whole bunch of reasons, ended earlier than our cishet counterparts. So as a result, our experience of time is compressed. It also has to do with the fact that those milestones that we've been socialized to use to mark the passage of time, so things like marriage or having children or, working, retiring, inheritance, things like that, haven't been accessible to us.
Working, retiring, and inheritance
linear
aren't accessible.
Timeline has a name.
Wait,
heterochronology.
Well, hold on.
There's a lot to break down there.
Well, it is. So she said inheritance is not available to them? And working's not available to them?
Retirement.
And retirement. How? Why not?
Yeah, you had me at the children. I understand that things are done down there that can't be reversed.
Right.
But you can still get married.
You still work and retire.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the problem?
Working, retiring, inheritance, things like that haven't been accessible to us.
I don't get the inheritance part.
Linear timeline has a name, heterochronology. And as queer and trans people, our experience of time often sits outside that. Basically, it's super interesting, and I'm going to be unpacking it more this week on the podcast. So listen in wherever you like to do that.
Well, I'll sure do that.
My brain hurts.
We're going to listen to the podcast, and we'll break it down.
We'll
break the whole thing down.
Okay.
Because people demand answers.
What was it?
Heterochronology.
It's a made-up word, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Well, see, that's what I was going to ask. Is that one of those made-up words, or what is it? Because I don't. Is that an actual thing?
I think that the two words alone are actual things.
It's like, remember that irregardless wasn't a word, but now they made it a word? This could be the same thing. Heterochronology or whatever it's called.
Is irregardless finally been made an official word
It's
now?
actually a word.
Do you know how many times I was told that I was using... I actually used irregardless once on the air. Wasn't here. It was like 20 years ago. And I never lived that down when I was at that radio station. So, but I learned that irregardless...
To me, it's still not a word. My mom hates it, so I always learn to say regardless.
Well, hate's a pretty strong word.
Well, my mom gets I love my mom to death. She just says, she likes her grammar proper. And so she just gives you that look of like, okay. But I always say it now, I say it as a joke just to make her laugh. Yeah, I've used it as a joke now to make her laugh.
Okay. Does your mom listen?
They sometimes do.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw down irregardless just for your mom the rest of the week. Just to drive her nuts.
Well, I could just see her like going on her way to the gym, just like listening. And she just, if you're listening, Mom and Dad, I love you guys. Thanks for the support.
By the way, there is no such word as heterochronology.
Shocking.
Well, there's no irregardless either.
Put that in the news. You got to put that in the news now. New studies show that whatever the word is, I can't even pronounce it, is not a word. You got to put that in the news now.
I'll just run you as an actuality there, Brother Jeff.
Okay. Yeah, just play an audio, just me losing my mind about fake words.
There you go.
Local producer Jeff Malinoff has gone insane when it comes to non-words become words. He's now in the local mental asylum.
Well, what's great, though, is that you had it right when you said local producer Jeff has gone. You could have just stopped right there.
It's been fun.
Bringing the comedy today. Well, don't leave until Matt gets here.
Irregardless, if they need you, they'll call you.
Oh, man, that is very funny. You ever wonder what it's like to live a day in the life of one of those people, by the way?
Oh, I have no idea. If you're mad about grammar, this woman who was attacking me for making fun of the disabled and being a racist said that I like Jim Crown laws, and she also said that I'm late for my Klan rally, and she spelled it with a C.
Are you kidding me?
I swear. I let the Jim Crown thing go because I'm like, whatever. I do that kind of stuff. I make stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
But then when you did Klan rally, I was like, I have this itchy Twitter finger ready to go.
Yeah, because, don't those people, they're always screaming about the KKK and Donald Trump and his supporters and all that, but she spelled it with a...
Maybe she had too much Jim Crown to drink.
Maybe.
You know what's so funny, Ken? I was actually thinking the same thing. That's pretty funny. All right, what do you have coming up next?
Well, we're going to get some of the reaction from Joe Biden's incredible, inspirational, impactful D-Day speech.
Yeah, Jeff and I were debating when he talked about threats to democracy across the world, if he was talking about Donald Trump. I believe that he was, because he just can't help himself.
No, of course he's talking about Trump.
Yeah.
Orange man bad.
No, I said he's talking about, but when he said all over the world, he got to use Trump there, but we also talked about him having an out as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Was it.
But first,
he had to put
Jeff,
in there too.
But first, you said he wasn't talking about Trump. I just want people to go against you on the super text line again.
It's gonna blow. Oh God,
I'm just kidding.
my car's gonna have windows broken now, isn't it?
Oh no! You know what? Here's the deal. People have been hating on me for 10 years.
I already got comments saying lock the door.
Oh my goodness! See, that's kind of funny, actually. Lock the door. Yeah, people have been hating on you for what, about a year and a half now, Chris?
Boot a year.
Boot a year. That's exactly right, man. When Chris started selling Canadian bacon on the air, it was on. So anyway.
Yeah, it's a weird endorsement, but I got to do it. I have a family.
That's exactly right.
No, so we'll cover the Biden speech. Also, Donald Trump was on Hannity last night. Yep. A lot of Trump supporters were on the internet saying Hannity set Trump up. I watched the whole interview, and I didn't get any of those vibes.
What do you mean set him up?
They said that Hannity was trying to make Trump look bad. I think it was because he kept pressing him on the retribution and if he would go after Joe Biden. But I didn't get that vibe at all.
No, Trump's answer to that was perfect. He talked about unifying the country through the economy.
Yeah, I watched the entire interview waiting for that gotcha moment from Hannity that a lot of Trump supporters and influencers were pointing out. And I just didn't see it.
Interesting. All right, well, all that...
trollers.
And
trollers.
Redfield from the CDC. I have audio from him in an interview with Chris Cuomo that is fantastic.
All right, 8:53, Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis here. Did you know that Mark Spain Real Estate is the #1 most reviewed real estate company in America? They've got over 11,000 five-star reviews. They're going to sell your home fast and for maximum profit. This is hassle-free selling from Mark Spain Real Estate. It's their guaranteed offer. Now, Mark Spain Real Estate has been helping homeowners sell their homes for nearly 30 years. In fact, they've helped over 58,000 families sell their homes. Now, one of their listeners, Ashley, says Mark Spain Real Estate's knowledge of the market and strategy made selling my home simple. She says she's already recommending Mark Spain Real Estate to some of her friends. Now, you can call them today and get your guaranteed offer today. 855-299-SOLD is the phone number. 855-299-SOLD. You can find them online. It's markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing. 8:57, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Well, listen, if the last couple of months have taught us anything, whether it's here in Tennessee or out in Texas, it's that Mother Nature can strike anytime, anywhere. And yes, if you can hear my voice, you are in the path of tornadoes and power outages, which is why you need a backup home standby generator from my friends at Cove Generators. And right now, listeners to my show, you're going to get a free and upgraded 10-year warranty and $500 off when you mention my name. Now, Cove Generators, they are your premier Generac home standby generator dealer here in the state of Tennessee. If you've got any questions, call my buddy Generator Dave. He's going to answer whatever you ask. He and the entire team at Cove Generators, they're going to answer your questions before and after you buy that backup generator. Now, remember that great deal to listeners to my show, a free upgraded 10-year warranty and $500 off when you mention my name. That is a deal you're not going to find anywhere else but at Cove Generators. Call them, tell them I told you to reach out, 931-559-3311, 931-559-3311, covegenerators.com. Terms and conditions may apply.